Hello, hello! How are you guys doing? Everybody all right? Please let me know in the comments where you guys are tuning in from, which dominion you are watching from, where you're based. I see we've got close to 1,000 people watching. So please make sure you've hit the like button, the thumbs up, because it helps the it helps to fight the algorithm. You know, the things that I'm going to talk about and we've been talking about in the stream. Israel doesn't like them, which means mainstream media doesn't like it, which means corporations don't like it, because, you know, Israel's position is the same as the United States, and they're going to try and suppress independent media in favor of corporate media, because they don't want to bother telling you the truth. We've got people tuning in from Chicago, from I'm not going to read that one out, we've got from Malaysia, from Malaga in Spain. We've got Birmingham, Pakistan, Pennsylvania, Malaysia. We've got Scotland, Paris, Sweden, Brussels, South Lebanon, Beirut in Lebanon. We've got Malaysia again. We've got more people from Lebanon, Mexico City, Indonesia, Somalia, Prague, Norway, Pennsylvania, South California, West Australia, Los Angeles, United States, Newcastle, West Belfast, New York City, Melbourne, Serbia, and Russia, Uruguay. I mean, there's every country here. There's every country here. Well done. I'm really, really happy about that. So let's get down to business. Man, I have got so much crap to tell you. Like there is, I don't know where to begin. It's too much. It's really too much. Like covering this war. There's so much propaganda. I cannot handle it. It's worse than the Ukraine one, way worse, you know, and you know how bad the Ukraine war propaganda is or was. You know, it's funny because I'll play you a clip afterwards. I don't think the Americans will seem too interested right now in Ukraine anymore, but this is very bad. So let's begin with some updates, and then I'll focus on a few more things. And yeah. Miss K says, Richard Medhurst, where's your Free Palestine scarf? Well, here it is. This is a Palestinian scarf. I mean, it's not necessarily Palestinian, because depending on the design, you know, the black and white one, which people most commonly which people recognize the most, that one is Palestinian. But there's one that's Syrian, or it's called Shami, it's slightly different. It's a tiny bit darker. It's got a different pattern, so you could easily mistake the two. They've just named them after, you know, different cities. You'll forgive me, I forgot which one this one is, but it's definitely made in Palestine, and there you go. So I've got it always, whether whether there's a war or not. The occupation is constant. So let me give you some updates, all right? So the Israelis decided to take a little detour, you know, a little time out from their bombing campaign in Gaza, and go and bomb Syria, right? I mean, we feel special, don't we, about that, right? That the Israelis remembered to bomb Syria. So here's what they did. As usual, the Israelis, you know, they can't fight the Israelis. They're too afraid to confront Hezbollah or Hamas or Iran or Syria face to face, man to man. So they go man to woman, man to building, right? They go by air and drop their bombs on civilians and run away. So they do the same thing here, right? They went and bombed the airports. These are not military airports. They're the regular civilian international airports, the two largest airports, one in Syria in the capital, and then in Aleppo, which is the second largest city in Syria. And so they, you know, this is not the first time they do this, of course. And they do it very, like, in a really vindictive way. It's not like they just come and drop a bomb or send a missile. What they do is they specifically bomb each runway in the airport in equal increments, okay? So basically that means if the airport is, you know, if the runway is 100 meters long, for example, they're going to bomb it every 25 meters to make sure you cannot use it, right? So you can't use it from this side, you can't use it from that side, small aircraft, large aircraft, all gone. So it's very vindictive. It's very, you know, it's vindictive. That's what it is. And not to mention that, of course, they could kill people, obviously. The airports have reopened bit by bit. Now you have flights going from Damascus to Beirut since a while now. They're going to Jordan as well, as Syria is being brought back into the fold with Arab countries. You have more and more air traffic now finally resuming. It's not like it used to be, but it is slowly resuming. So the thing is, the reason the Israelis did this is because they knew in a few hours the Iranian foreign minister is going to come and visit Damascus. And they were just giving a press conference, him and the Syrian foreign minister, Faisal Mekdad. And so this was sort of a message from Israel, like, we are angry at what's happening in Gaza. I mean, once again, it's not like the Israelis have any right to be angry. They're the oppressors, but they just wanted to kind of stick it to Iran. That's what it was about. And send them a message. Now, obviously, we don't know whether the foreign minister of Iran was going to come by air or by not. These things are not announced. But the visit was certainly planned, and there was a press conference. So I don't know whether they came by land or otherwise. But it was very, they even admitted that this was the reason. And so, we go back to the dynamic that I was talking about before, where you have the Golan Heights here, the Syrian Golan Heights. I wonder if the BBC even mentioned that they're illegally occupied. Nope, there's no legend. I mean, again, this is something that children learn. When you make a map and you put colors on the bloody map, you explain what those colors mean, otherwise they're meaningless. And so the BBC, just like all the other media outlets, and it gets worse, they're too afraid to upset Israel, right? They're too scared. They can't do their jobs because they've got Israel hounding them. So, they don't tell you that this is illegally occupied. This area here, the Golan Heights, they're Syrian, and Israel is illegally occupying them. But in any case, going back to my main point, this war is different than the usual incursions, quote unquote, that Israel does in Gaza, because this time Iran is much more powerful. Syria is sort of back on its feet and definitely did fire on Israel at the positions in the Golan Heights, which are Syrian anyway. And then also from South Lebanon, so to the north for the Israelis, you've got Hezbollah also firing at the same time. So the Israelis, they don't know which way to look, and yeah, it's definitely making them angry. So I don't know what to say here except that they are this is, I don't know what to call it. It's barbarian, really. It's barbaric what they're doing to go and blow up the two main airports. They know that these airports are for civilians. They know that the Latakia port, for example, which is another target they often use on the Mediterranean Sea, they know that this has nothing to do with weapons from Iran. And even if it did, the Russians don't go bombing Kiev International Airport just because the West, like 30 NATO countries are sending weapons, and it's actually 50 countries supporting Ukraine. They would lose it if the Russians did that, but it's okay for Israel to do it. Of course, everything is permitted and permissible and acceptable for Israel. So at the same time, the Royal Navy have decided to send a couple of ships to intimidate Hamas, or try and intimidate them. Again, it's this posturing that we talked about last time. That you have the Americans who've sent the USS Gerald Ford, and I was joking, although half joking, I should say, that the U.S. Navy should be careful. They don't, that the Israelis don't mistake their ship for the USS Liberty. Otherwise, the Israelis might try and sink it again, which is what they did in 1967. But you don't hear about that in the news because that's a chapter of history that is buried. Yes. And nor do you hear a lot about the King David Hotel bombing. So I'm once again very puzzled by this decision to send ships to the Mediterranean to try and support Israel. Who the hell is Israel? Can someone please explain why this is a foreign policy objective for the United Kingdom and the United States? Who the hell is Israel? What connection does Israel have to the average Joe in the US or the UK? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. The truth is that Israel is basically a military base. It's a wedge to drive between Arabs. Just physically, geographically. Once again, I this always bears. This always warrants repeating. Okay, just give me a second. I just want to show you here you should always have this image in your head, okay, when we're talking about the Israelis. They are literally right in the middle of the Arab world, okay? So you see, if we start at Oman, and you look, over there's Morocco. Okay, so this is like one giant continuous landmass, same language, history, culture, almost the same religion also. And then right in the middle, you have Israel. They just, these Europeans, they just came and stuck this right in the goddamn middle just to crap all over the Middle East, because this is the juncture between Africa, Asia, and Europe. Okay, it's the junction. It's the most important point in the world, and always has been, right? In politics, it's the Middle East, and this is way before anyone cared about oil or anything like that. It's just always been the crossroads between three continents. So, geographically makes sense. So they just come and slap it in there, and then they want to make you feel bad about, babies this and babies that. I will also get to that in a moment. These are just the same tactics that they used when 9/11 happened, and everything afterwards. Like, they try to stir up emotions. They will bullshit and lie till the cows come home just to make people consent, right, or acquiesce to these bombing campaigns, to the US and the British armies just, pummeling and pulverizing and destroying and brutalizing people that live thousands of miles away for no reason, right? Except to make money and to occupy them. And you can see here, this is a good point that Glenn Greenwald made. This IDF slogan that they've adopted, it really does borrow from George W. Bush's post-9/11 decree. Okay, so the IDF are the Israeli Defense Forces. You should really call them the Israeli Occupation Forces, so we'll just say IOF from now on. So their slogan is now, you either stand with Israel or you stand with terrorism. Oh man, this is really funny. Let me guess. They hate you because you're free? Yes? I think I know this speech. I've heard this one before. So look, I want to show you how batshit they have become in their rhetoric. Like, you guys really need to understand, and you probably realize this yourself, this war is different from the other Gaza wars, not only because of the resistance axis playing a much larger role, but also because of the rhetoric, right? They like, even before, they would always try and make it about, Israel, the victim, the poor Israelis. And now it's like, it's 10 times, 100 times worse, right? Like, we're just supposed to forget like 75 years of occupation. And even before they created Israel, how the Israelis were assassinating British officers and assassinating Jews who were against having a Zionist state, and killing Arabs and all this, the Haganah and Hashemir, who now are the IDF. We're supposed to forget about all this terrorism and just act like they're victims. No, I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. I know my history.
What is the president's message to...
Okay, the pool should start leaving, and then we're going to take this last question.
So that's a White House
what is
spokesperson.
The president's message to members of Congress who seem to be equating the Hamas terror attack with actions that were previously taken by Israel?
Say that one more time. Everybody's moving around. I apologize.
What is the president's message to members of Congress who seem to be equating the Hamas terror attack with actions that were previously taken by Israel?
Look, here's the thing, and which congressional members?
Well, there have been some members of Congress who have called for a ceasefire, and they have not gone as far as backing the administration's call for support for Israel.
Oh my God. The tragedy. They called for a ceasefire. Hang them! They're terrorists.
So look, I've seen some of those statements this weekend, and we're going to continue to be very clear. We believe they're wrong. We believe they're repugnant, and we believe they're disgraceful. Our condemnation belongs squarely with terrorists who have brutally murdered.
Repugnant and disgraceful. Man, you need to understand like how wild this is. Before, they would pretend, the Americans, and the Westerners, and even some of the Israelis would pretend like, we want peace. We just want peace. Why do they hate us? They hate us because of our freedoms. They would pretend that they want peace and they want two states. Now it's just, fuck you. We want to bomb Gaza. You're a terrorist. You're repugnant.
Raped, kidnapped, hundreds.
No one was raped. That's a lie.
Hundreds of Israelis. There can be no equivocation about that. There are not two sides here.
I agree. There are not two sides in this story. The Israelis are oppressors and the Palestinians are the oppressed. Period. I agree.
There are not two sides. President Biden has been clear on where he has stood. You heard from him directly today. You heard from him also on Saturday on this.
Really? Biden has been clear about where he stands. No, he hasn't. He claimed that Hamas were beheading babies, and then as soon as his speech was over, the White House had to walk his own statement back because it's not true.
There's been multiple statements from this president, and he's taking action to provide additional support to ensure that Israel has what they need to defend themselves. All right.
Yeah, I mean, Maureen in the chat says she's another Aunt Thomasina. yeah. You know, again, this is like you have people who, you know, they and this is in the UK. It's the same thing, right? You've got people of color who just blindly repeat the propaganda of the British elites, the British political elite, or the US political elite. You know, just because they want to be as part of the master's house, you know, like she gets to be the White House spokesperson, or Suella Braverman gets to be the Home Secretary. You know, they've accumulated all this power and wealth and status, and they believe this crap even more than the presidents or the prime ministers themselves. You know, again, this is it's a common theme. I want to show you this Israeli lawmaker, you know, and look what he says. I want you to look what he says now about the situation.
חיסול מוחלט של החמאס. ויש לזה מבחן מאוד פשוט, שבעזרת השם ילד לבד יוכל ללכת ברחוב הראשי של עזה, ילד יהודי, בלי שאיש יפגע בו, אז נדע שניצחנו. אם ככל שיהיה רחוב ראשי של עזה, אם לא. חיסול מוחלט.
Okay, so this is another common lie that you hear from the Israelis, that there's like a problem. They pretend and they claim that there's an issue between Jews and Palestinians, or Jews and Arabs, or Jews and Muslims. This is complete, utter bullshit. You've had Jews, you have Arabs, Christians, Muslims, living in this area. Literally, I mean, they come from this area, these religions and these peoples, living there for thousands of years without issue. The only time that the only time a problem actually arose is in 1948, when the Zionists, who are European settlers, European Jewish settlers from Europe, came to colonize Palestine. And they had started decades before that and made it into a Jewish ethno-state where, you know, you have like white Jews on top, and then you have brown or Arab Jews, and then you have black Jews from Ethiopia, and then you have Palestinians who are like treated like they're not even, you know, humans. So this idea that like there's a problem with like Jewish children cannot walk alone in Gaza, complete utter horseshit. You have Jewish people in Sheikh Jarrah and East Jerusalem, Palestinian Jews, that Israel is evicting just because they're Palestinians. They don't even give a shit that they're Jewish. You know, this is besides the point, right? Beside the point. I just want to point out that he's saying he wants to wipe out Gaza. He's saying like if there would even be a Gaza. Right? Like you have to understand something. The Israelis do not speak to the West the same way that they speak at home, or do not even speak to Arabs. Okay? You know, the Israelis want you to believe like, oh, Israel is a victim. People hate them because they're anti-Semites. Right? They claim especially like Arabs are anti-Semites, which is ridiculous because Arabs are Semites themselves. They claim that, you know, they just want peace, and look at what they're doing in Gaza. You know, now they're saying that Hamas are ISIS and Hamas are Nazis. I mean, this is so dumb. Even if you don't like Hamas, this is just wrong. It's so intellectually bankrupt. I can't even, you know, I don't even know where to begin. So these are the things that they say to the West, right? And they say, oh, we're a democracy. Now, when it comes to Palestinians and Arabs, they don't even bother saying this shit. They just bomb, kill, and take the land. That's it. There's no dialogue. There's no need for propaganda. They just kill them and take the land. That's it. Where's the proof? Look at the Palestinians. They live in ghettos. Gaza is a giant ghetto. You need to understand that. People do not willingly give up their land for European Jewish settlers and go live in a ghetto, whether that's in Jenin refugee camp in the West Bank, or it's in Gaza, or, you know, all the hundreds of thousands of Palestinians who had to flee in 1948, going into Syria, going to Jordan. You think people are just nuts? They just like randomly decided to leave and give up their homes. This is, I just want to point out the funny contrast here. Like the Israelis, this is just bullshit that they feed the West so they can get weapons from America. That's it. Here's what the Israelis are doing, defending themselves. I mean, this is a joke. What I showed you, this is a joke compared to all the stuff I've seen today. I have seen so many awful things today. I mean, I don't even know where to begin. I will probably forget some of them because it's just too much. You need to understand what the Israelis are doing. The Israelis are not targeting Hamas. This is another phrase that they constantly use in the media. Oh, Israel hit Hamas targets. Oh, they always use this phrase to make it seem like Israel is very surgical and tactical and they know exactly where Hamas is. I want to ask you a question. Please, I beg you, just think about this. If the Israelis have Hamas targets, if the Israelis know where to find Hamas in every house and every tunnel, then how the fuck did they not know Hamas were coming on October 7th if they know where every Hamas target is? Someone is lying here. Someone is not telling the truth. They've been telling porky pies. The Israelis do not, in fact, know where Hamas is. They were taken completely by surprise on October 7th. Gaza has a vast network of tunnels, and they are just randomly bombing people. And how do I know this? Because here's the proof. The death toll is now 1,800 dead Palestinians. It's surpassed that already because this is from 2 hours ago, so it's probably more now. 1,800 Palestinians killed. So now you have more Palestinians that have been killed than Israelis, which was not true a few days ago for the first time. But of course, the Israelis always make sure that at the end of the day, you have more Palestinian casualties than Israeli casualties, just as a matter of policy. And I want to show you something here. I want to show you how surgical, and careful and tactical and delicate Israel is, right? So 1,800. The majority of those are women and children. The majority. Not just civilians, women and children. Okay? So 352 women, 583 children. So more than 50% of the 1,800 people killed are women and children. There are 7,388 people wounded. I literally saw 2 journalists die today. I saw one of them die during a live stream, and the other one was blown in half by Israelis hitting South Lebanon. And I'll come back to that story because it's even worse than the first. I mean, I can't keep track. Each story is worse and more heartbreaking than the next. Apparently, all these people, all these women and children, and the journalists I just mentioned, they all work for Hamas. Apparently, right? I mean, either the Israelis are the sloppiest, pathetic and most incompetent army in the history of armies, that they are trying to hit Hamas, and yet they just keep murdering civilians every single time, every single war. Or they don't give a shit, and they are lying to you and lying to the world and bombing, recklessly, they without care. Right? As if, I mean, it's not like they have the right to bomb Gaza in the first place, but they are bombing on purpose civilians and then lying to you about it. So if Hamas are terrorists, what does that make the Israelis, who have warplanes, who have nuclear goddamn weapons, who have white phosphorus, which is banned, and they're using white phosphorus? This is confirmed by Human Rights Watch. If you want to cite a Western NGO, what does that make these Israelis then, who are able to kill civilians and are in fact killing civilians on a much larger scale with a wider array of weapons, with all these billions and billions in funding from the United States? What does that make Israel then? Either they are incompetent and they should not be doing anything in Gaza, or they are purposely killing civilians, and once again they should not be doing anything in Gaza. By the way, the first possibility, being incompetent, is not an excuse under the Geneva Convention to just randomly kill civilians. So the Israelis now dropped leaflets this morning, right, telling Gazans to leave their homes. Can you imagine you walk outside, or you're on your balcony, or you're in the park or something, or you're walking down the street, and a plane is dropping leaflets telling you to leave your home. So they sent a message to the UN, right? Like as if, you know, they're warning the UN, we're coming for dinner at 9, expect us. You know, like they just told the UN leave. They told the United Nations to leave from North to South Gaza, and they told 1.1 million Gazans to leave North to Gaza for South Gaza. Now, I mean, the idea, and this is the United Nations who said this, the idea that you can evacuate 1.1 million people in 24 hours, which is what the Israelis are ordering, right? Like some camp commandant, you know, just like coming in and say, I order you to leave. You have 24 hours, hurry up. You know, just snapping their fingers at you. You cannot do this without incurring, you know, grave human casualties, and you know, causing harm to humans. And not to mention that trying to evacuate this fast, you know, is bad enough. But not to mention the fact that the Israelis are bombing you while you're doing this. And that is what happened. The Israelis bombed people who were literally complying with their shitty orders. Okay, so once again, Israel ordered 1.1 million people to leave their homes. Some of them did that, and then Israel bombed them while they were leaving. I mean, again, they make Hamas sound like choir boys, right? And this is not the first war in Gaza. I've lost count. I've lost count. I think people in Gaza have lost count. It's awful. It's awful. This is you know, terrorism on another scale. It's something that is so deranged. I just don't know how to describe it. You know, words fail me. Words truly fail me. I cannot even show you the videos because, ironically, you know, Israel is allowed to kill Gazans. Israel is allowed to lie about it, but I'm not allowed to show you what they're doing because, you know, it's too graphic. Wow. Free speech, right? What a democracy. How am I supposed to do my job? I'm a journalist. It's my job to report. These are some of the worst human rights violations in the world, right? These are some of the worst murders and crimes in the world right now. I need to show them to you. I need you to see what is happening. It is truly gut-wrenching and awful. And I cannot do it because, you know, it's too gory apparently, but it's not gory for them to actually, to literally, in fact, kill people. I don't know what to say. You know, you can find these videos if you look for them, but it's really not for the faint of heart. So just absolutely horrible stuff. And you know, the funny thing is that the Israelis their rebuttal will be like, well, this is Hamas' fault for using them as human shields. Apparently, if you sit in your house, just sitting in your house, you are a human shield for Hamas. Wow. That's funny. That's really funny. So you have no connection to Hamas. You're not even politically active. You're just sitting in your home in Gaza. You're a shield for Hamas. That's Israel's logic. You're a human shield. I mean, like, who speaks like this? Who speaks like this? Do you see how deranged this sounds? And this is what we are supporting. You know, I think this is, you know, like we're sending aircraft carriers and Royal Navy ships to show support for this disgusting, diabolical shit. I'm not okay with that. I think this is, you know, this is abhorrent. It's bad enough the Israelis are doing this. This is even worse, to condone that by sending ships. To do what? Go fishing? You know, this is a political display of support. It's posturing. It's a show of force. It's intimidation. Like, who are you intimidating? Civilians? With your aircraft carrier? What is that? What are you trying to accomplish? Just embarrassing us. Just embarrassing us. You know, again, it's like, it's bad enough that we created Israel and now the Americans fund it. No, now we have to, like, still, you know, support the Israelis politically and shut our goddamn mouths and not say anything because, you know, we don't want to hurt their feelings. Go to hell, really. You know, this is, it's not even close. It is not even close. Every single thing they say about Hamas is either a lie or something that the Israelis do themselves. Without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt. They are lying to you. They're feeding you propaganda, trying to get you stirred up emotionally. So you allow them to behave like this. Just like, you know, they did this in Britain and they did this in America to brainwash people into allowing their armies to go and butcher people in Iraq or in Libya or in Syria or in Somalia and et cetera, et cetera. You know, it's never ending. Make no mistake. This is not just the Israelis' fault. This is America's fault, and it's Britain's fault. So now I want to debunk some more of their propaganda, and Oh God, I saw this video that I'm gonna show. I swear you guys are not ready. I swear to God, what I'm gonna show you in a few minutes with this interview, you are not gonna believe it. You're gonna think it's a parody or something, and you're not gonna believe it. So first, I want to debunk this garbage myth. Okay, I want to debunk this myth, this lie that Israel perpetrated, claiming that Hamas purposely butchered 40 babies, right, and then cut their heads off. I mean, it sounds awful, right? But the thing is, it's not true. It's a lie. And I'm going to demonstrate this to you. So you have this journalist at Israel 24, or I-24 as it's known, who originally made this claim. Okay? Now, watch this clip.
David, it's hard to even explain exactly just the mass casualties that happened right here. In fact, the Israeli military says they still don't have a clear number, but I'm talking to some of the soldiers and they say what they've witnessed as they've been walking through these different houses, these different communities, babies, their heads cut off. That's what they said. Gunned down, families completely gunned down in their beds.
Wow. Very compelling. You know, she's walking around like she's just about to show you, like it's right in there, you know, with her body language. And then when people caught on to this and started asking questions like, do you have a picture of this? Because it sounds very gruesome. You should probably prove what you're saying. And now she starts doing damage control and saying that soldiers told me they believe 40 babies or children were killed. The exact death toll still unknown as the military continues to go house to house and find more Israeli casualties, right? So then this Israeli here is also repeating this bollocks.
We walk door after door. We kill a lot of the terrorists. We are stronger than them. They are aggressive. They are very bad. They cut head of children, cut head of women, but we are stronger than them.
Okay, so you know, the mainstream media, instead of actually questioning this and going, hey, again, can you verify that, because it sounds extremely gruesome, you know, they just run with it, to the point that the U.S. President Joe Biden is himself going and repeating this. Listen.
I never really thought that I would see and have confirmed pictures of terrorists beheading children. I never thought I'd ever. Anyway. But there are countries in the region that are trying to be of some help, including Arab nations that are trying to be of some help. So, anyway.
Anyway, what? How do you just drop a bomb like that and say, you know, anyway? What? Well, after Biden said this, the White House had to walk back. They had to walk back his own statement. They had to walk back his own goddamn statement. Okay? So, a White House spokesperson later clarified that U.S. officials and the president have not seen pictures or confirmed such reports independently. The president based his comments about the alleged atrocities on the claims from Netanyahu's spokesman and media reports from Israel. In response to questions from the Post, an Israel Defense Forces spokesperson declined to comment on the state of victims' bodies. So the thing is here that you might read this and then get the impression that, well, it was just a mistake. You know, they just made a mistake. No, this is not a mistake. Look, man, you're the president of the United States, or you're Netanyahu's spokesperson. You don't just go and randomly say these things. What you're saying is being put down on record. You know, you want people to take you seriously. They lie on purpose. The media pick it up, they spread it around, you know, they put it on the front pages. This is literally on the front page of several British tabloids who are absolutely, you know, the gutter of the trash. And then by the time the truth comes out, no one gives a shit, and they're not going to see the truth. You know, it's the same tactic with weapons of mass destruction. They just like put this in your brain days on end. They condition you, they brainwash you, and then by the time the truth comes out, it's already too late, right? It's already too late. And now I know you're all thinking of that famous Churchill quote about the truth. Yes, I know. But, you know, I find this astonishing. I find this astonishing how you know, they just lie so candidly and get away with it. And people actually believe this without any verification, right? There's no photo, there's no proof, nothing. We were just supposed to blindly believe the Israelis because they said so. No, I'm not going to believe this. And now you can see them doing damage control. Look at the Los Angeles Times saying that an earlier version of this column mentioned rape in the attacks, but such reports have not been substantiated, right? So that's another one of the lies that they were saying. You know, they just sat down and just came up with, you know, they basically sat down and just tried to think of the worst crimes imaginable that would really, you know, get people's emotions stirred up. So using that to play on their heartstrings, and then make them hate Hamas to the point that they don't care if Israel is pummeling Gaza. They want them to do that. This is programming. This is war propaganda. That's what it is. And I want to show you some of the British tabloids. I mean, just absolute, you know, disgusting garbage. And these, and some of these photos, right? Look at that, for example. I mean, I could have sworn, I swear, when I saw these photos, the first thing that came to my mind was Iraq. It's like it was just yesterday that these exact papers with the exact fonts, with these exact sensationalist crap titles were lying about Iraq. I'm traumatized by it, you know? So now this is just the newer version, and they will always have a version about something. You know, Gaddafi is giving Viagra to his soldiers so they can rape people. Assad is using chemical weapons and dropping barrel bombs, but apparently barrel bombs and, you know, murdering civilians is okay when Israel does it in Gaza, etc., right? It's never ending. Yeah, they always have something like so mean and evil to say about Arabs to justify killing them. And here's another one. Metro saying 40 babies murdered by Hamas. No, it's not true. And then they say in the Times, Hamas cut the throats of babies in massacre. Where is the proof? There is no proof. And this is something that I find funny because you cannot show me one photo. I, as a journalist, could not find one photo, a real verified photo of this atrocity, whereas I can find 1 million photos of Palestinian babies and Palestinian children and Palestinian women and Palestinian men and Palestinian teenagers murdered by Israel. There are so many photos, I cannot even count them. There are so many photos, I probably won't see them in my lifetime. It's just too many. That's the irony, is that you cannot believe what the Israelis are saying. You can't verify what they're saying, right? But we're supposed to go along with it. Whereas the Palestinians, there is like a mountain of evidence of Israeli crimes against Palestinians, and no one gives a shit. You know, Piers Morgan and all these, you know, hosts on cheap television stations, they will never show an ounce of sympathy for the Palestinians. It's always, you know, like, I mean, peace would be good, but oh, look at the Israelis, the poor Israelis. They're such victims. It's the Nazis again. No, it's not the fucking Nazis. Idiots. You know, the irony is that Hamas literally released several women and their children to show to the world that we are not doing what you are saying we're doing, what you are alleging. It's simply not true. And here's the proof. We're letting these women, these female hostages and their children go. They can just go. Here's one of them, right? So she was released. And then she actually gave an interview. Okay, so one of the women who was released. And look what she said.
נגב היה על אחד המחבלים על הכתפיים, הוא כל הזמן רק צרח שהוא רוצה לרדת, אשל היה עליי. ואז אנחנו מגיעים ממש כבר על עזה, אני רואה את הבתים, והם אומרים לי, הם עושים לי ככה עם היד, מורידים את אשל. והם פשוט הולכים לכיוון עזה, ואני נשארת עם 2 ילדים, ואני מבינה שעכשיו אנחנו משוחררים. ואז התחלתי לחזור חזרה הביתה.
לבד ברגל עם 2 ילדים של השכנה שלך.
לבד ברגל עם 2 ילדים. הם הלבישו אותי.
שבעצם את בתוך עזה.
כשהם הוציאו אותי, כן, אנחנו כבר אחרי הגדר של המערכת, אנחנו כבר לקראת עזה. הבתים שבעזה מולי. כשהם הוציאו אותי מהממד, מלבישו אותי ב3 חצאיות כדי שאני אהיה צנועה. ואז אנחנו מגיעים לגבול, אני רואה עוד חוליה של מחבלים. הם ראו אותי, לקחתי את הילדים, הסתתרנו מאחורי גבעה של חול. הם לא פגעו בנו והם המשיכו לעזה. והמשכנו ללכת, האמנתי שנגיע, פשוט האמנתי שנגיע, הם חייבים לחזור הביתה.
Doesn't sound like a lot of raping and beheading took place to me, does it? It sounds like the complete bloody opposite. But, you know, you're not going to hear about this interview. And here's another funny thing. You had the... Okay, so the Daily Mail, which are, you know, if you're not British, then I should probably tell you that the Daily Mail is not exactly the most respectable tabloid in England. It's probably it's the worst. It's like right now, maybe after the Sun is the worst, and then you have the Daily Mail. Although to be fair, it's during the Assange thing, they were the only ones who were doing actual good coverage, which is shocking. Anyway, they wrote this about a video that Hamas released. They said sickening footage released by Hamas shows terrorists holding Israeli toddlers and children during Saturday's massacre, which shocked the world. I mean, it's not sickening. They're just playing with the kids and like comforting them. But they're trying to, and the reason Hamas published this is literally to show the stuff that mainstream media in the West are accusing us of doing is not true.
انظروا الرحمة في قلوبنا ها هم الأطفال لم نقتلهم كما تفعلون. بعدين درينك يلا سي بسم الله يلا درينك.
I mean, I can understand why it's disturbing maybe, but the point of that was not to say, you know, oh look, it's sickening footage. They released this to show that the Western media are lying, and they still managed to twist it into something, you know. Here, I have another video also of a woman who was released, one of the hostages, and this is what she said. Okay, so she's talking about how Hamas treated her when they came into her house.
הם נכנסים ואני אומרת להם, יש לי פה 2 ילדים. הדבר הראשון שאני אומרת להם, בעברית? לא, באנגלית. הם מסתכלים ואז אחד אומר לי באנגלית, אל תדאגי, אני מוסלמי, אנחנו לא נפגע בכם.
I love her facial expressions.
זה תפס אותי מצד אחד בהפתעה, מצד שני זה הוריד לי הרבה לחץ, וישבתי עם הילדים שלי, והמחבלים הביאו כיסא מהפינת אוכל, היה מחבל חמוש כל הזמן איתנו בממ"ד, והשאר מסתובבים בבית. אחד מהם רואה על השיש בננות, אומר לי, אפשר לאכול אחת? אתה לא כן, אתה יכול לאכול אחת.
מה הילדים אומרים?
הגדול קצת יותר נלחץ, הקטנה לא ממש הזיז לה, הייתה עסוקה בטאבלט שלה. מה שכן הפחיד אותם קצת זה הנשק. היה איזה קונסיליום שלהם ליד הממ"ד די בהתחלה, דיברו בערבית, ובן שלי שואל אותי, הם עכשיו חושבים איך להתנצל? אמרתי לו שכנראה שלא. הם היו אצלי בערך 2 שעתיים. בסוף השעתיים האלה אחד מהם סוגר לסדל את הממ"ד והם יוצאים. זהו. וזהו.
Once again, a bit uneventful. I mean, I understand why it's frightening, but this is nothing. They did not come to, you know, do what the Western media are saying. So do you see the complete disconnect from reality, between reality and what our tabloids publish? They're just liars. They are lazy people. They are brainwashed people. You know, they're sick in their minds, and they want to brainwash the rest of the population with their bullshit propaganda, and it's really frustrating. One of you in the comments said now that about the other clip, this one, that that they were babysitting terrorists. Yeah, so I mean, do you see again how you should not believe everything Joe Biden or Netanyahu say, or, you know, some random Israeli soldier or a you know, an Israeli journalist who they just made these things up on purpose. And The sad irony is that, you know, I mean, I haven't heard of the Israelis beheading babies or something, but they certainly killed a lot of them. This war, in the previous wars, the siege itself, you know, makes sure that medicine can't get in, everything. The Israelis, you know, they decide on every single item whether it can enter Gaza or not. They even blocked vaccines during the pandemic from coming into Gaza. Like, what? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? You know, they Hamas had been given vaccines and they just blocked it and wouldn't allow them to have it. You know, like, and then the water and the electricity and the lack of food. I mean, it's not a lack of food. There is no food. They've cut it off. Does this not kill children? Does this not kill civilians? Does it not hurt civilians? It's definitely a war crime without question. Not only is collective punishment a war crime, like if you would go and suddenly, you know, force people to start marching, you know, for kilometers on end, but the cutting off their water, cutting off their food, the electricity, you know, depriving them of sleep, bombing them. You know, it's like there's so many of them. I forgot the bombings. You know, all of these things are war crimes. And the Israelis commit them against Palestinian civilians, and no one in the mainstream media cares. No one feels any sympathy towards them. There was no Hamas attack in 2021. There was no Hamas attack in 2009, 2012, 2014. You know, during all these rampages that the Israelis did in Gaza. And even back then, they were still trying to portray, oh, the Palestinians are terrorists. And now they finally have some sob story to cook up, you know, about the Israelis being victims, and then it's not enough. They have to like make up, you know, gruesome, grotesque lies like this one. I think I've made my point. I rest my case, and the media are absolute trash, and you should never take them at their word because their word means nothing. So I see we've got a couple of super chats, and I'll continue just a second, but guys. Man, I haven't even gotten started. Guys, there are half of you who have not liked the live stream, who have not clicked the thumbs up button. Please make sure you do, because I'm trying to fight against the Israeli propaganda. I'm trying to fight against the mainstream media. I want the truth to be heard. I am biased in favor of the truth. And the truth is what I'm showing you here, that our media are liars, that Israel is not a victim, Israel is an oppressor, Israel is a colonizer, the Palestinians are suffering on a scale that is unimaginable and is not reported. So I need your help. I need you to like the video, to comment, to share it. All these things promote the video in the algorithm so that other people get recommended the video when they're on YouTube or otherwise. So, okay, it's slowly going up. We've got 2,000 people watching, 1,500 likes. There's just 500 of you who need to click the thumbs up button. And thank you very much, Cyrus, for joining as a member on YouTube. And Crazy Puppet has gifted 50 memberships randomly to you guys. So you need to say thank you to Crazy Puppet. He is truly a crazy puppet. I love him. And let me just check here. I think we might have gotten some other ones, and I just want to read them to you before I continue. We have a donation here from Monica. She says, I appreciate your work. Thank you much from California. Please, will you keep streaming live for when the bombing starts in 4.5 hours? Yes, I will. I mean, I'll try my best not to go on for too long, but I'll constantly be putting up the things and streaming every day. So I will, you know, if I'm not speaking to you guys, I'm glued to the TV and to the screen and looking things up and collating information and, you know, researching the whole time. It's really, you know, I'm upset just looking at it. So can you imagine how people in Gaza feel? Can you imagine what they're going through? It's horrific. Sam K says, Scott Richards said that if Israel goes into Gaza, then Hezbollah will go into northern Israel, and then the Syrians go into the Golan. Your thoughts? Bring it on. You know, the thing is that I'm kind of disappointed, honestly, in Hezbollah and you know, the resistance. I mean, I don't mean disappointed. I'm just like, I'm asking myself, like, at what point does enough become enough? Because this is not the first time this happens in Gaza. Really, not the first time. It's been 75 years of occupation. So the thing is that it's not really in their hands. You have to, you know, I and you guys have to understand this as well. Is that you cannot just randomly say, okay, we're going to go and start, you know, escalating or start a war. You have to take into account the factors. Okay, the Americans and Britain have sent warships into the Mediterranean. Does this play a big role in ground warfare and guerrilla warfare, especially when Hezbollah and Hamas use tunnels and so on? No, but it is posturing. And you do have to take into account this could turn into a world war easily. This is almost, let's say, almost, if not just as risky as Ukraine. Why? Let me explain. Okay, let me explain this to you. So as Sam correctly points out, if the Israelis go into Gaza, there is a very, very high probability that Hezbollah will come in from southern Lebanon into northern occupied Palestine. And then Syria will go and retake the Golan Heights, which are illegally occupied by Israel. And, if that happens, you could see Iran, Yemen, and Iraq, the Hashd al-Sha'bi, also joining in. And then the Americans, who have an aircraft carrier in the Mediterranean, and through their other various resources and bases in Qatar and so on, they could end up attacking Iran directly. And then, this could easily turn into a world war. You have Palestinians right now who are marching inside Jordan. Remember, a lot of Palestinians had to flee from the Israelis who were killing them in 1948 and taking their villages and their homes. Palestinians had to flee. This is the Nakba, into countries just next door, like Syria and Jordan, and many of them stayed there. So you have many Palestinians in Jordan who are now going right up to the border, right? Because Jordan actually normalized ties with Israel, which is, people just, again, you can understand that people don't accept that. It's just the rulers who decided this, but people do not tolerate it. And they're at the border and they're ready to go over. They want to march. They want to march back into Palestine and take their homes. March. Just like you had in 2018, 2019. No one has weapons. This is not Hamas. This is not any political group whatsoever. It's not a religious group. It's not specific ethnicity. It's just Palestinians trying to take back their homes by marching. And the irony is that it's Jordan that is not letting them go through, right? So it's one thing if the Israelis are going to start shooting and killing civilians, which they already do anyway, right? But it's another thing to have Jordan, an Arab country, an Arab kingdom, blocking its own people from going. I don't understand this. If the Arab rulers, I should say, opened the borders and let people march, let the Arab people march to Palestine, Israel would be overwhelmed. They just would not. I'm not saying with weapons, just march like this. Israel could not contend with that. Never. It would be such a massive symbol of resistance, of unity, of self-determination, of reclaiming, the holy city, not for Muslims and not for Christians, but as an independent, as a separate body, which is what it was intended to be by the United Nations, but Israel illegally annexed it. It's very, very powerful, and people would do that. They just by numbers, right? So the thing is that if the Palestinians would go in and you had all these other actors that I mentioned in the Middle East going in, and with very good reason. Remember, Syria is occupied by Israel, so it has every right, under any jurisdiction, international, local, whatever, to go and liberate its land, right? Just as the Palestinians have this right. And the thing is that you might see Turkey and Indonesia joining in on the side of Iran and the Arab countries against Israel, which I find, I'm not sure about Turkey, because Turkey also recognizes Israel, and I don't know how Erdogan navigates this. He says he's pro-Palestine, but also has ties with Israel. Anyway, and you could easily see this escalate into something really, really, really big. You might see in Ukraine, because the war is still going on there, right? I think the Russians would try and take it. The Russians might hold off on supporting the Palestinians and the Arabs and the Iranians in retaking Palestine, because they are neutral. Russia was the first country to recognize Israel and voted to create Israel in the UN. But Russia also has very good ties with Syria and very good ties with Iran, right? So they are neutral in this case. I don't think they should be neutral, but they are. So China is the same thing. Although China doesn't have that strong of a relationship with Syria as Russia does, right? Just for historical reasons. But in any case, it could easily turn into a very, very big protracted conflict. And honestly, I don't know what the United States would even do, you know, nuking Iran or nuking Russia. For what? Like, what would it be trying to do? It would be a lost cause. There is nothing for the United States in the Middle East. The United States shouldn't be there. Britain shouldn't be there. You know, Israel is their base. That's it. Israel is just a base for the West. And if they would lose that, then they might have, you know, other crazy ideas in mind. And I don't even want to, you know, contemplate these things. But those are my thoughts on just to answer your question. So we have another donation here. We have one from Abdul. Says, oh, actually, this is from the last stream. So good, I saw it because I didn't notice it last time. So it says, brother, may Allah protect innocents in Gaza and other side. May Allah protect brothers in Gaza, Pakistan, and Muslims all over the world are praying for you. Yeah, you know, Imran Khan is still in prison. By the way, I was reading a statement that he managed to get out through, you know. I think his lawyer or something. It's horrible, man. This guy's been in prison for months now for no reason, you know, except that the United States wanted to get rid of him because he wasn't playing ball with them. You see how, like, whether it's Eastern Europe, it's Ukraine, or it's the Middle East, or it's Pakistan, the United States, or I should say a couple of assholes in Washington, D.C., who are like just a microscopic portion of the population, have their fingers you know, everywhere and trying to destabilize the world just if they don't play ball, you know. It's a scorched earth policy, and it's I mean, it's vile. We have a donation here from Rabolesk, thank you very much. It says, all the Western journalists near the Gaza border where the incident happened are surrounded by Israeli government minders, so their reporting isn't independent. Well, that's true. And you know what? I'm gonna show you what happened to this poor journalist, because it's so I'm really angry. I'm furious. I'm furious. This is disgusting. Okay? Give me a second to pull this up. Okay. So Israel killed a Reuters video journalist who was working in South Lebanon. Okay, so remember, this war that's happening in Gaza right now, it's not limited or confined just to Gaza. You have other actors from the resistance axis that are involved, such as Syria, which is occupied by Israel. Israel is illegally occupying the Golan Heights, has occupied them since '67. And also you have Hezbollah, which, you know, is the one that liberated Lebanon in 2000 from Israel. Israel invaded Lebanon and occupied it several times. So, you know, they are now, you should no longer think of them as separate groups. And in any case, this journalist was at the, you know, at the fence at quite a distance, you know, covering this in South Lebanon, which is Hezbollah's turf. His name is Issam Abdullah. Okay, and you're not going to believe how nasty this is. Okay, so here's first the incident. Don't worry, it's not graphic. So the Israelis fired a shell at them, and you can hear one of the journalists, this is a group of journalists, and she's screaming, "What happened? What happened?" And then she starts saying, "I can't feel my legs."
What happened? You okay? What happened? What happened? You okay? You okay? What happened? I can't feel my legs. I can't feel my legs. Oh fuck! Oh fuck! I can't feel my legs. Fuck! 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 Fuck!
I saw another video for this guy was he was in two pieces. That's what the Israelis did to him today, just a few hours ago. They randomly fired at a group of journalists and murdered them. Murdered him and injured the others. I mean, you saw the video. There is no fighting going on. It's not Gaza. It's not a residential area. This is South Lebanon. So different landscape. You cannot say that the Israelis didn't know that there were journalists or there was a firefight and they mistook these journalists for something else. They know exactly what they're doing. And if they don't know, then they should fuck off and not be in the army. How about that? This is a war crime. And this is from the Israelis who want you to think that they're a democracy. Do democracies fire artillery shells at journalists who are literally just filming and doing nothing? What kind of a democracy is that? The Israelis know what they're doing. Just like they killed they killed Shireen Abu Akleh in the West Bank because she was covering what they were doing with these raids, right? Similar raids to what Hamas did just 7 days ago, right? The Israelis go with their jeeps, go into the West Bank, into Jenin or Nablus. They start murdering people and then kidnap young men, quote unquote, arresting them. And they're not going to exchange them for anyone. They're not hostages. They just go and put them in prison. And sometimes they don't even know what they're in prison for. They're not allowed to know. So the point is that just because Shireen Abu Akleh was filming the Israelis doing their raids, they killed her and they shot at the entire group of journalists. Similarly here, they shot at the entire group of journalists for no goddamn reason. And if that isn't disgusting enough, I swear to God, this is on Reuters' website, on their own website. They don't even tell you that Israel killed him. They don't even tell you why he died. This is their own website. This is Reuters. Reuters.com. It says Reuters videographer killed in southern Lebanon. A Reuters news videographer has been killed while working in southern Lebanon. What is killed by what? A dodo? A car? A nuclear missile? What does that mean? He fell off a ladder? Has been killed while working. Why do they use this passive language? No, you should say he was murdered by an Israeli shell. This is a news agency. And they're talking about their own employee who has just died, has been murdered, literally working for them. And this is how they honor him. They don't even have the basic common decency. Forget honoring him just to report the truth. You're a fucking news agency. Why you cannot write one sentence saying what happened, reporting what happened? Jesus Christ. Look at this. This is the media that we have. This shit. They say we're deeply saddened. No, clearly not. You're clearly not. Look, that's it. They say he was part of a Reuters crew in southern Lebanon, providing a live video signal. We are urgently seeking more information, working with authorities in the region, and supporting his family and colleagues. That's it. There's literally nothing else. I'm sorry. The Israelis killed him, and they know it. They know it. That is an Israeli position that's being filmed. The Israelis have a history of killing them. Hezbollah does not have a history of killing journalists. I've never even heard of that. That's not a thing. No one did that except Israel. Israel always liked to shoot at groups of people that observe and watch and report on them. Journalists, medics, and the United Nations. Too many times to count, right? This is southern Lebanon. So this is... you have the UNIFIL mission, peacekeeping mission. My parents worked there. They know how the Israelis behave. They're violent, and they always try to injure UN staff or fire at them and then say, oh, it was a mistake. And they've actually killed UN staff right there in southern Lebanon before, claiming it's a mistake. And they do the same thing, whether it's in Lebanon or in Syria or in Palestine. It's too many examples to mention. And funnily enough, I saw a Reuters Jeep in the excuse me, in the Imperial War Museum, which is the one that we have in London. And they had if you go there, I don't know if it's still there. It was a month ago, but it's on the ground floor, and it's the one where they have the tanks and the V2 and all these things. And it was a really busted up Jeep, you know, like completely totaled. And it said press on it, and it had Reuters, and it was from the Lebanon Civil War, right? So I no clue who could have done that. I mean, that was a very protracted, long war, and the Israelis were collaborating with some of these Lebanese Christian groups, right? So, I mean, for all we know, it could have been anyone. But I'm thinking of the irony that, you know, it's always this. They always use this passive language, you know, like when Israel commits a crime, they just don't want you to really understand what happened. And then when it's Hamas or it's Syria or whoever the enemy is, or Russia, you know, they have so many details to give you, to the point that they're literally fabricating details and fabricating stories. This is, I don't know what to call this. I mean, what he was doing is brave. This guy's, you know, the realist of the realist. But what Reuters are doing to him after he's been killed, murdered by Israel, you know, just insulting his memory like that, insulting themselves. I don't know how you can call yourself a news agency and you cannot report a simple fact in one sentence that, you know, your journalist was killed by Israel on purpose. This is a fact. It's literally on fucking video. What they have a history of doing this. What am I supposed to say? The Israelis don't care. This is why they get away with the things that they do in Gaza, or this, because no one is going to hold them accountable in the West, because the media are corrupt. We don't have real media in the West. You cannot trust them. They don't hold anyone to account, whether it's British leaders or American leaders or politicians or Israel, or, you know, whoever like is in bed with Washington and London. They're always going to cover for them, and this is one of those things. I find this so insulting. And actually, to date, in the last 7 days, you've had more than a dozen journalists that have been killed, of course, by Israel. Who else? Hamas don't go and target journalists. This is not a thing. It's an Israeli thing. Really, just disgusting. You know, what a shame. What a shame. So let me show you something. Some of the other things that have been happening. Okay, so there's a trend. I'm going to tell you about this. So Israelis who are on TikTok have created a trend where they film themselves drinking tap water or something, and showing all the nice amenities that they have at home, just for the purpose of annoying, upsetting Palestinians in Gaza who have had their water cut off, who have had their electricity cut off, their food cut off, by Israel, of course. And I mean, this is so sick and deranged. Just look at this. Right, flicking the lights on and off. Look at my electricity. I mean, settler colonialism in action, right? This is the mentality. This is the mentality. It's like, we're going to take your stuff and leave you with nothing, and then laugh at you and kill you and so on. You know, that's the mentality. And the irony is that even the BBC sometimes like to report the truth. Sometimes, rarely. But you know, they put this piece out once called "Obstacles to Arab-Israeli Peace: Water." It's not an obstacle. You stole something, you should give it back. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the Golan Heights, which are Syrian, and Israelis get around 1/3 of their drinking water from Syria. They steal it. And meanwhile, in Syria, the infrastructure, it was getting much better. Like, speaking of electricity, there were no more cuts in Damascus right before the war started, so 2010, 2011, and then everything went to shit. Thank you, NATO. So, you know, it was getting better, but my point is that, you know, the Israelis are living on Palestinian land, taking water from Palestine, from Syria, you know, trying to take the gas from Lebanon and the Karish gas fields, and then treating Palestinians like this. It's really insulting. I mean, imagine somebody comes to your house and they kick you out of your house, and then, you know, they're just looking out the window, trying to make you angry and upset you, and trying to upset you by you know, showing you what they've taken from you. I don't. You might call it childish. I call it sick. It's you know, it's nauseating. It's really nauseating. I've seen photographs. You can find many of these where you have a Palestinian family that have been kicked out of their homes. Not during this Gaza war, but in general since the Nakba in 48. And there, you know, you have the Israelis who've just taken this Palestinian family's house, who have the gate locked, and they're looking outside at the Palestinians who are now homeless. What is this crap? Like, who thinks Palestinians have to accept this? Would you accept this? Man, I'm not even there, and I don't accept this. God damn it, I'd be raging. I am raging. I'm fuming. And look at this you know, look at what she was saying, Ursula von der Leyen. She was saying, this is back in October, so it's almost exactly a year ago, 19th of October, 2022. She was saying that it's a war crime for Russia to cut people's water off, right, in Ukraine.
With a clear aim to cut off men, women, children of water, electricity and heating, with the winter coming, these are acts of pure terror.
Yes, I agree. So are you going to say the same about the Israelis, or it's not terror when they do it? Well, once again, here we go. The Israelis, you know, do whatever they like, double standard, and so on.
And we have to call it as such. This is a moment to stay the course, and we will back Ukraine for as long as it takes. And we will protect Europeans from the other war that Putin is waging. This is his war on our energy. I know that Europeans are concerned.
So, yeah, you know, of course, she's not condemning the Israelis. Instead, I can show you what she's doing instead. What do you guys think she did instead? Huh? So, she's seeing all the things we're seeing, obviously, right? She knows what the Israelis are doing. I'm just waiting for you to. I'm just waiting to read your comments to see what you think she's up to right now, Mrs. Ursula von der Leyen. You know, I'm just gonna call her like European Hillary from now on. So you guys are saying that. She went to Israel, probably. That's what AU is saying. Yes, you're correct. Well done. Here she is. So she's going to greet the people who carry out acts of pure terror. I'm just using her own words. These are her own words. I didn't say it. It's not my opinion, right? She says, I have arrived in Israel with EP President to express our solidarity with the Israeli people in the wake of the horrific Hamas terror attack. Yeah, really? Who do you speak for? Who the hell does this woman think she is? She's an... I know people always say this about EU officials, but she really is unelected. She is an unelected EU official, okay? And I want to show you another insulting thing here, okay? So look at this other clip from the EU. So they're having a minute of silence, okay? It says, the European Parliament's solemn moment to remember the victims of the terrorist attacks in Israel over the weekend. So they go and they have their moment of, their minute of silence. Look at them. They're all dressed up, nice and serious. You guys remember this villain on the left?
Thank you all for being here today. I know how much this means for people in Israel who have endured the worst terrorist attack in generations. I am proud.
Every Palestinian generation endures terrorist attacks from Israel every day.
To be here today with so many of you. Our presence here outside the European Parliament is significant. Our gathering held in the Simon Veil Agora is symbolic. Our voice is important.
All right, you guys get the idea. I'm going to spare you this rubbish. So, don't you find it weird they have a minute of silence for the Israelis, but there's no minute of silence for the Palestinians? I just told you that the death toll of Palestinians now has surpassed that of the Israelis. And this is usually the case, right, since the very beginning. So you'll have you'll have 60 Israelis who are killed, most of them soldiers. And then you'll have 2,200 dead Palestinians, and the bulk of them, the majority of them being civilians, so women, children, and this is in the last Gaza war. And God, you see, they do it so many times. I keep forgetting. It's not 2021. I think it was 2019 or 2014. It's the same thing every single time. Israelis suffer no casualties, and they inflict massive suffering on the Palestinians. And I don't recall a single minute of silence for them. So, you know, it's disgusting double standards. It's double standards in how they express sympathy in international law. You know, like apparently it's an act of terror to deny people amenities and basic their basic needs when it's in Ukraine, but Palestinians are not human beings, right? According to the West. So, you know, when you deny them water, it's not an act of terror. You can go on TikTok and make funny videos like this guy. Really, really great world, you know, that we live in. Really nice people that we have in charge. I really don't know what it's going to take to get these nasty ghouls out of power. I really, these people don't represent us. She's running around, this European Hillary. She's running around, you know, saying that she stands with Israel and Europe stands with Israel. No, we don't. We don't stand with Israel. We stand up to Israel. We stand against Israel. We stand against you. No one likes Israel. What does Israel have to do with Europe except the fact that Israelis are European settlers? What is so good about Israel? What the fact that it split a journalist in two pieces? It murdered a Reuters journalist today. Those are European values. The ones you keep speaking about. By the way, just a small. I just want to show you what people are going through. This man, he lost 20 of his family members. 20 family members. I mean, can you just imagine what that's like? His children died. His sister died.
شو اللي صار معكم؟ ولا حاجة، قاعدين آمنين في البيت ولا في عنا أي مشكلة. نزلت بيوت علينا. البيت أنا عندي حوالي 200 نفر. والله ما بعرف مين ضل طيب. يعني أنا مستغرب أنا كيف طلعت عايش. للأمانة. أنا مستغرب كيف طلعت عايش. لكن أنا طلعت عايش عشان أوصل الرسالة للعدو ولأمريكا ولأوروبا ولكل دول العالم بأن الشعب الفلسطيني لن يقهر وسينتصر عاجلا أم آجلا. وهذه المعركة هي معركة الانتصار ومعركة القدس. مهما طال الزمن أو قصر انتهى الموضوع. لا في مجال، ما حدش يحكي عن هدنة ولا حدا يحكي عن سلام ولا حدا يحكي عن أي حاجة. احنا اليوم مندافع عن شرف الأمة العربية والإسلامية. والله لو أمعنوا فينا بالقتل والله لن نستسلم، والله لن نستسلم، والله لن نستسلم.
شو المشهد في مخيم الشاطئ؟ الناس ما بتعرف.
مروع. جثث أشلاء بيوت بتنزل على ساكنيها. هم بيفكروا بدنا نتهجر، بيفكروا انه بدنا نروح على مصر. والله هيهات. هم بيعرفوش طبيعة الفلسطيني. احنا هاليوم ماتوا اولادي وماتوا اخواتي. انا هيني مزروع في البيت وبدي اروح ارفع الركام وانام في البيت، واذا كان راجل نتنياهو يضرب كمان مرة. وين نروح؟ هو هبيلي؟ لا، المرة هذه فيش يروح على مصر. المرة هذه علينا، على ارضنا، على فلسطين، على القدس. والله 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 مهما أمعنوا فينا في القتل، قتلوا الأطفال، قتلوا النساء، لن نستسلم ولن نرحل من هذه الأرض، بل سنتقدم إلى أرضنا.
Yeah, so he's saying even if you kill our children and our women and our families, we will not leave. And I want to just show you very briefly, you know, this is what the Israelis are hoping, is that they can kick the Palestinians out of Gaza, and then, you know, of course, take Gaza, as you heard one of those Israeli lawmakers saying so. And look, you know, they want, Gaza's right here next to Egypt, right? So people in Palestine, they can't go to Egypt because the border crossing here was bombed by Israel. And if Egypt would let Palestinians come through, then, you know, the Israelis who have ties with Egypt, unfortunately, would find ways to put pressure on them to stop them from doing that, you know, until it suits them. As the Americans, you know, they supply, I think Egypt is the top recipient of American food aid, right? So they have Egypt by the balls. That's my point. Both from Israel on one side and the United States on the other, although it's really the same thing. The thing is, though, that Hamas have told people not to listen to that evacuation order and to just stay home, to stay put. And the Israelis are saying, well, you are using the civilians as human shields. So again, let me repeat that. Hamas told everybody in Gaza not to leave their homes because that's what Israel wants. Israel wants to kick them out and take Gaza. And this and Hamas said this is a psychological trick. Okay, so it's a psyop. So don't listen to them. It's just psychological warfare. They want you to leave your homes so they can just come in and take the land, right? And so this guy who just lost his family, he's saying, no, we are not leaving. On the contrary, we're not going to walk down to Egypt. We're going to go walk up to Jerusalem and take back all of Palestine, which is what they should be doing, right? And the thing is, you can't win with the Israelis, the ones who did comply with this order to leave, as if the Israelis, you know, who the hell are they anyway to start giving orders for people to leave their homes? But the ones who did comply got bombed. So, you know, you can't win with the Israelis. You stay home, they call you a human shield and bomb you. You leave your home and comply, they still bomb you. I mean, who the fuck can tolerate this? Who on earth is supposed to just, you know, tolerate this crap and just sit back and accept this? Go to hell. No one is going to tolerate this. No one. Now, I'll talk about this at a later time, but there's a lot of gas here on the Mediterranean, right? A lot of gas. And yeah, well, I'll do that in a separate video. So again, thank you. I've still got some topics to show you, man. I was there's an interview that is so repugnant. I'm saving it. I'm going to show it to you in a second. But before we continue, I just wanted to thank the new members. We have Omar who just joined. We have Cyrus, and we have Crazy Puppet who gifted another 50 memberships. I love you, Crazy Puppet. So thank you. And we have some super chats. Let me just check if I got anything on PayPal in case you guys have questions or comments. Actually, yeah, we've got a couple of them. AV says في الروح في الدم نفيق يا أقصى. Hus says yeah, Israel told Gazans to move to the south and bombed it. Exactly, that's what I was saying. Yep. Hassan says, I really appreciate all your work. Just asking why you don't join the X space with all the other activists, because they can really use some of your vast wisdom. I didn't manage to get. You're talking about the space, the Twitter space thing where you speak, because when people say X now, I have to double check they actually mean Twitter. Yeah, I tried doing it, but it doesn't work for some reason on computer. I think I have to check on the phone again, but. It's a good idea, and we've got Jack962 who's joined on Patreon, so thank you. And we have a donation here from Marissa. It's good to see you, Marissa. She says, thank you for covering this accurately. It is very frustrating seeing coverage in the West Be well, friend. By the way, I like your kufiya. Thank you. And yeah, it is very frustrating. I can't stand it. It's really, really too much. Zen says, keep fighting, Richard. We Chinese are with you, as well as all the victims of Western imperialism. Thank you very much. That's very encouraging. And Godspeed to China. And we need China to be a good friend, and to help the global South rise up, which is what it's doing, and that's it's very much appreciated and valued. Khoury says, I love you and love all that you do. Stay strong, brother. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And all your kind donations. So guys, I have to play a crab dance because so many of you joined. We on Patreon, we're still trying to get to the goal. Right now, I think we should be almost at 750. Almost. I'm just double checking because I wanted to know when to unleash the new crab dance. Okay, so let me see here. Yeah, so we've still got, I think, 25 members to go. So again, I'm just this is independent media, so I rely solely on you guys to support my work. So if you can afford $1 a month or $2 a month, actually send it to Gaza first. But if you can afford another $2 a month, please consider donating, whether it's here or it's another independent media channel, because the stuff that I'm seeing in corporate media, it is so frustrating. It is worse than the Ukraine coverage. Like, it's really that bad. This cannot go on, because half of the game that they're playing is not just the military aspect, it's the propaganda aspect, which is, it's like with Ukraine, right? They're making money, they're taking land, they're doing their political games to achieve their objectives, whether it's encircling Russia or, in this case, driving a wedge through the Arab world. And half of that effort is propaganda. It's just brainwashing people into acquiescing, into not knowing what's happening, into not caring what's happening even when they do see it. This is poison. Mainstream media is poison. So we can't just stand by and allow them to brainwash and lie to people. It's the lying is what really upsets me, because it's of course what Israel is doing is worse, because it's actually destroying people's homes and their lives and killing them. But my point is, just figuratively speaking, the lying in the media is just as bad, figuratively speaking, because it's so vicious and full of crap. And they do things like, Hamas is beheading babies. So they completely throw you off and make you focus on a bullshit story that has nothing to do with reality. And meanwhile, Israel is getting away with its crimes. I mean, look at this. Look at this site. What do you call this? This is an apocalypse. This is Gaza. This is Gaza this morning. That's what Israel is doing. Are you seriously telling me that Hamas, they have an entire, city to themselves? This is indiscriminate. I mean, I'd like to say indiscriminate, because that would, maybe it sounds like you're absolving the Israelis, maybe like, they did it by accident. No. They know what they're doing, man. This is targeted. They know exactly that no fucking Hamas person lives here. They're just bombing it for the sake of bombing it. I feel like this is a really bad transition to a crab dance, but I'm going to play it just to say thank you. And again, thank you for all of you who are donating on PayPal or Patreon or whatever. It's really... I'm also, it's good to see your comments. I'm also grateful for that, because it makes me feel a little less frustrated about this crap in the media. You guys know what I'm talking about. Anyway, here's the crab dance. Let's go. Hopefully it cheers you up.
Clap for that, you stupid bastard. Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Listen, fuckhead, you fucking crossed the line, claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Cut that bitch off.
Thank you for Iron Dome.
Thank you. والله انت كلاب بصراحة يعني. ماشي نشتغل عادي.
We lied, we cheated, we stole.
China.
And you ain't black.
There's always the macro.
And then there's the micro.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
You talking to me?
Ladies and gentlemen,
I'll have 2 number 9s, a number 9 large.
we got him.
Because I have to do it myself. I know it's not.
I've fallen and I can't get up. Get up. Get up. Get up.
Oh!
Disgusting!
She was 12, I was 30, but anyway.
We'll do it live! Fuck it! Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Why attack Sanders? Why? Oh, you're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay. Okay.
Suck my dick and choke on it! I yield my time! Fuck you!
It's absolutely wild. Oh man. Okay, so here, let me show you this, okay? We talked about the threat that Israel issued to Palestinians in Gaza, to 1.1 million people, telling them to just, get up and leave their homes. And those who were going south, so who were evacuating or leaving and complying with the Israelis, some of them were bombed. So, you're in a lose-lose situation against the Israelis. And I want you to listen to this this journalist from Gaza as she tells it.
So, more updates about the evacuation that I've been talking about since the morning. Do you remember when I said that they push people to evacuate from the northern to the southern areas via a safe route, as they said? Okay, that was a trick. They targeted ambulances, cars, and buses in the road, and more than 150 people were killed until now, as I heard from other press and other journalists. So this is part 3. They are playing with us. They are playing with and on us. They told us this is a safe route. Innocent people took anything from their homes and went to the southern areas, and they killed them. They literally killed them. Literally more than 30 ambulance cars until now reached the Shifa, and it's not ended. It's not ended yet. Many people are killed. Most of them are children. The scenes are really hard. I can't even imagine that I'm living this. I can't imagine that this is real. I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my life. Please do something. So
apparently, she's Hamas, according to the media, and disgusting Zionist scum like Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson, who is constantly groveling and kissing Netanyahu's backside, and or RFK Jr., another Zionist scumbag. Apparently she deserves it. She's a human shield for Hamas, just like everybody there. There's all the civilians. It's okay to butcher them, I mean, these people, they already sound crazy now, these Zionists and these apologists for Israel. They already sound crazy and unhinged now. I can't imagine history being anything other than extraordinarily distasteful and looking very, very unfavorably upon them when that time comes. So, their names are going to go down as apologists for genocide and just all-around scumbags, really scumbags. This is the UN also evacuating, right? Because the Israelis kicked them out as well. Apparently, they're also Hamas. So you know, it's you have reality, and then you have what Israel says. These are people in Gaza who are chanting that they're not going to evacuate. You know, that they would rather die than be humiliated by Israel and forced out of their homes again. You have to understand how disgusting this is. People in Gaza have already lost their original homes. That's why they're in Gaza, many of them. And now Israel is bombing their homes and telling them to leave again. Like, just, you know, you become a refugee, then you're again a refugee, or your son becomes a refugee. You know, you have multiple generations of refugees. It's never ending with them. Israel, it's never enough for them. There's never enough land. There's never enough Palestinians that they can kill. There's never enough, you know, wars that they can wage. It's never enough bombing raids on Syria or bombing raids on Gaza or raids into the West Bank. Everything Israel does is justified. Israel, they're the chosen people, and everything a Palestinian do is terrorism. Yeah, we know the drill. Here you can see people from Egypt carrying supplies across. Because, as I said, the Gaza Strip is right next to Egypt, so they're allowing Egypt. They're allowing some people to go across into Gaza and deliver aid. But of course, like I said, the Egyptian president Sisi, he said in his speech a few days ago that Palestinians should not listen to the Israelis and not try to come into Egypt. Now, again, this is good and bad. The bad thing, obviously, is that people are being bombed. So, I mean, I really, you know, it's very difficult, or rather, I should say, it's very easy for anyone who's not in Gaza to tell people in Gaza, just stay there, you know, and it will be fine, or, you know, just stay there. And it's not easy for them. It's not easy. It's very difficult. So that's the thing. But the other quote unquote good thing about this is that, you know, Israel should not be given any more ground. On the contrary, people, instead of going south, should be going north. The same goes for Syria. The same goes for Lebanon. They should be going in, right, and taking back the land and not allowing Israel to take more of Palestine or the Levant. Again, I'm going to show you just on the map here. The Israelis, they've had several plans before to ship Palestinians off to Latin America, for example. Like, again, look at the map. They actually wanted to take Palestinians from here and then ship them all the way to Latin America just to get rid of them. And another one of their plans is to put them in the Sinai here. Okay, excuse me. But Sisi, the Egyptian president, told them, no, do not leave. Do not allow the Israelis to force you out again. And I really don't know what is going to happen in these next hours. It's very, very critical. And, you know, we are really going to see now in the next couple of hours how this war is going to how it's going to manifest itself, whether it will escalate or not. You know, if the Israelis decide to pursue and undertake a ground invasion, you know, I can't imagine Hezbollah just sitting that out in today's day and age. You know, they have the means, they have the training, they have the knowledge, and they have the power to deal with Israel. And so does Hamas. You know, the Israelis, the last time they went into Gaza about a decade ago, they got like humiliated and severely punished for that. Just like when they went into Lebanon the last time. And this is the reason why the Israelis don't go into Lebanon anymore. They haven't touched it since 2006 because Hezbollah executed sufficient deterrence. And when it comes to Gaza, the Israelis, all they do is they bomb it by air, but they're too cowardly to actually go in by land. And if they really get pushed by Netanyahu, who's obviously has to do nothing except sit in his office, then I don't even want to imagine what's going to happen, because this is not the Hamas of 20 years ago. This is a completely different beast. This is a highly proficient guerrilla force, and they demonstrated this on October 7th. So far, Israel has done nothing to remove the shame and wash away the humiliation that it experienced on October 7th. It cannot do anything anyway to deliver itself from that. That stain is never washing off. And the thing is that all we've seen from Israel is just bombing civilians. That's all they're able to do. They get in their F-16s, which are provided by the United States. They go and bomb hospitals. They bomb civilians, even the ones that are complying with their evacuation order. They bomb them too. That's all they're good at. Destroying concrete. You would think that their biggest enemy is concrete. Like maybe I misunderstood, and Israel is waging a war against concrete buildings. I mean, it's. So my point is that if the Israelis decide to go into Gaza, they will be severely punished. It's not because I wish it or the Palestinians wish it or something like that. I'm just telling you the facts. My job's to report, and I'm telling you that we are not talking about the same Hamas of 20 years ago. And Israel also is not the same as 20 years ago. It's weakened. Hamas and the resistance axis is stronger. So keep that in mind. Well, and of course, I will always keep you guys up to date on what's happening. On Twitter, on YouTube, every single day. My Twitter is, actually, I never plug the Twitter because I always forget to do it. Here it is. That's the handle if you want to follow. So I'm constantly 24/7 posting updates, posting news, posting about what's happening in Gaza, and about what's happening in this war and how it's transpiring. So, give me a second here. I want to show you some. Yeah, I think it's time I showed you this video now. Okay, excuse me. Okay. This is actually the shorter version. I'm going to get you the slightly longer one because you'll find it to be a more interesting. Just a second. Yeah, here we go. Okay.
In hospital.
So the former Israeli Prime Minister, Naftali Bennett, who was Prime Minister, barely a year ago, he went on Sky News, and I just want you to watch this clip. This is really one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen. It is so vile that words fail me.
And what about those Palestinians in hospital who are on life support, and babies and incubators whose life support and incubator will have to be turned off because the Israelis have cut the power to Gaza?
Are you seriously keep on asking me about Palestinian civilians? What's wrong with you? Have you not seen what happened? We're fighting Nazis.
What?
We don't target them. Now, the world can come and bring them anything they want. If you want to bring them electricity, I'm not going to feed electricity or water to my enemies. If anyone else wants, that's fine. We're not responsible for them.
This is the point.
But you
this
keep
is the
on.
point.
I want to tell you. No. Listen. You listen to me right now. I've heard you enough.
No, I understand. We're trying to have a conversation here. Listen, this is my program. This is my show. And I am asking the questions. You're raising your voice, and I've asked you, and we've already stopped, please, and let me finish. We've already distinguished between Hamas.
I want to tell you, shame on you.
You're trying to speak over me.
We are not. Shame on you.
It's nothing about shame. We're trying to have a conversation about a very serious situation.
Jesus Christ, I don't even I don't even know what to say. It's not over, by the way. It still goes on for another minute. Like, he has the nerve to say shame on you. How can someone so shameless tell other people shame on you?
Situation here, and you are refusing to address it.
Jump over immediately, and again, you
absolutely
use the
not.
Palestinian narrative.
You are incorrect.
They are responsible, because I can tell you that when the UK,
absolutely
when Great Britain was fighting the Nazis during World War II, no one asked what's going on in Dresden. It was the Nazis targeting London, and you targeted Dresden. So
listen,
shame on you if you go on with that false narrative.
We're not talking about that, and in hindsight, many people have listen. And in hindsight, many people have readdressed that kind of carpet bombing.
Babies. Oh, I see. Now you're Mr. Clean. Shame on you.
Absolutely not. And I'm not. Listen, Mr. Bennett, I am not in the military. I am a journalist asking you questions. Are you going to let me ask you a question, or are you continue shouting at me? We've already distinguished between Hamas and the Palestinians. I'm asking you very directly. What
do you want to ask?
Is going to be done to make sure that those innocent people don't get killed, as innocent Jewish people were killed on Saturday?
Where to begin? First of all, I love this journalist. I was shocked to see this on Sky News. Like, actual journalism? No. Actually challenging an Israeli? You know, it's so funny because this guy on the left, he's a proper journalist. And Bennett was not expecting that. The Israelis, when they do interviews, they are not expecting to be asked actual real questions that challenge their policies. That's why he lost it. You saw the Israel that Arabs are subjected to. That is the real Israel. Where suddenly he's not saying like, oh, we're the victims and oh, you know, we do things in accordance with international law. He said like, how dare you ask me about those fucking babies? Oh, so now you don't care about babies. You were just screaming the whole week that Hamas were beheading babies. Now you don't care. You know, you're fine with cutting off the electricity for babies in incubators. Jesus, the irony here. I mean, it's wow. And then he compares the Blitz to Hamas. I mean, look, as powerful as Hamas raid was the other day, number one, they're not Nazis, and number two, that was not the Blitz. Okay, as the journalist correctly pointed out, you know, carpet bombing Dresden is now viewed with somewhat, you know, in a somewhat a darker light in the UK. I mean, you know, the thing is that the Germans started it first. So what can I say? No, but seriously, like what is he comparing here? You know, they keep bringing up he says fighting Nazis. The guy asked you about civilians. He didn't ask you about who you're fighting. He said the people that are suffering because of your policies. No, Nazis this. Do you see how nuts he went? He just couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle it. This is the real Israel. This is how the Israelis are. They are ruthless. They are unhinged. And they do not give a fuck about civilians. They do not care. And they are entitled. They're so arrogant and snot-nosed that when they go on the press, when they do press tours and they go on TV and these interviews, they never expect to be asked an actual question. They expect softballs all the time, you know, because the media put them on a pedestal. They give them, you know, they just grovel before them, frankly. They grovel before them. And this guy is a top lad. I love him. It's so nice to see someone do their job. It's so refreshing. I was blindsided by this. I didn't expect this. How do you think Naftali Bennett felt? So, you know, this guy, you heard him screaming, "This is my country," right? So the journalist said, "This is my show," and then Naftali Bennett says, "Well, this is my country." Dude, his parents moved from San Francisco to Palestine. It's not your country. You're a bloody American or whatever. He can't even fucking speak English properly. His grammar sounds like shit for someone who's born in the US or whatever, or lived in the US. Horrible. And on top of that, it's not even his country. He's a colonizer. Palestine is for the Palestinians. Period. We're not having a debate. I want to play it again. Do you guys mind? I want to play it again.
Are on life support and babies and incubators whose life support and incubator will have to be turned off because the Israelis have cut the power to Gaza.
Are you seriously keep on asking me about Palestinian civilians?
Yes, he actually is. Yeah. Well, I mean, the tone, the reaction, it really shows you like how much contempt, utter contempt and disdain the Israelis display and possess towards the Palestinians. Utter contempt, nothing less and nothing more, just contempt.
What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you? Like, dude, listen, no matter what this guy asked you, I mean, okay, they're obviously within reason, I'm saying. What do you mean, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you, you fucking murderer? You're yelling at the guy because he asked you an actual question?
You not seen what happened? We're fighting Nazis.
No, you're not. You are not fighting Nazis. That is a lie. Hamas have literally nothing to do with Nazis. This is so funny. It's like they use these dumbed down slogans to brainwash people. Oh, Hamas Nazis, Hamas ISIS. Oh yeah, Hamas bad. You know, what is this? He thinks he's doing a kids show. Actually, you know, the sad irony is that half the people in Gaza are children. So you have 2.1 million Palestinians in Gaza. Half of them are children. So when you see the Israelis carpet bombing Gaza, or I don't care what they call it, Israel defending itself. Sorry, that looks like an apocalypse to me. Yeah. They are inflicting this destruction on children. So are you going to come here and tell me that those children are Hamas members? Once again, I reiterate, either you are so sloppy and careless and dumb and incompetent that you cannot carry out surgical strikes, or you are capable, but you're doing it on purpose. And either way, you should not be doing anything of the sort in Palestine. Problem solved. Go back to Europe or America, Mr. Bennett.
We don't target them. Now, the world can come and bring them anything they want. If you want to bring them electricity.
That's such a lie. You cannot bring Gaza anything. I love the irony of this. He's such a goddamn liar. Everything he says is a lie. You cannot bring Palestinians anything. People have tried. They're called flotillas. Multiple times you had flotillas where people just loaded up medicine, food, clothes, you know, basic, just essentials, necessities, and tried to come to Gaza because it's on the beach. It's a strip of beach on the Mediterranean, right? Guess what? You cannot reach it because the Israelis have it cordoned off. They have it blockaded. It's a siege. You cannot. Every time there was a flotilla, the Israelis attacked the ships with helicopters. They came down. You had commandos boarding the ships like pirates, like goddamn pirates, like as if, you know, it's an enemy vessel or something. You know, it's a destroyer that they're boarding in a commando raid. My favorite thing, I swear I'm never going to forget this. I think it was on Sky News, ironically. I saw this like maybe 15 years ago. It was the Israelis filming the commando raid on one of the flotillas with their infrared camera. And somebody on this ship, I don't know who the hell he was, he just grabs one of the Israeli commandos and like tosses him overboard. Man, I'm trying to find this video. If somebody knows where it is, please help me find it again. Just it's so beautiful. Oh man, that was amazing. That guy was just he was not to be messed with.
Yeah, I'm not going to feed electricity or water to my enemies. If anyone else wants, that's fine. We're not responsible for them.
Come now, Mr. Bennett. Your enemies? The babies are your enemies? I thought Hamas are savages and ISIS and all this and all that because they targeted your babies, and now you won't give the babies in Gaza electricity or water because they're your enemy? That doesn't sound very logical or consistent, does it?
This is the point.
But you keep on. I want to tell you. No, listen. You listen to me right now. I've heard you enough.
You listen to me right now. I've heard you enough. Oh man. Again, I think we've seen enough from Mr. Bennett. And again, keep in mind, this guy was the Prime Minister of Israel up until a few months ago. And it's honestly a miracle that Netanyahu even got his job back. As soon as this war is over, he'll probably go to jail on some corruption stuff. So, you know, he could very well, you know, He might very well be the next prime minister, you know, again, just as Netanyahu came back. It doesn't matter whether it's Bennett or it's Netanyahu. They all think like this. How do I know this? Because they practice the goddamn same policies to the letter. There's no difference. There's no difference. This is what our media should look like. If our journalists were like this, Israel would not get away with a shit. Anything. With not a single thing. This is what you call a real fourth pillar in a so-called democracy, because the other three don't really exist. But you take my I think my point is well taken. And you know, honestly, you want to talk about Hamas and all this, you know, Hamas have done in these last 7 days. They pale in comparison to what Israel does as a matter of policy to the Palestinians, and has been doing since not even 75 years before that, right? It's not just 75 years. It's before 1948, even before there even was an Israel. So you know, they really have no moral high ground to stand on. They don't have the moral high ground. They have no ground to stand on. They are in the wrong, pure and simple. And nothing Hamas does, you know, short of a nuclear bomb, is going to even come close to the level of atrocities and the kinds of, you know, crimes that Israel does regularly on a daily basis to Palestinians. I don't understand how someone can equate, you know, like one surprise attack with an occupation, the longest occupation in modern history. That is what Israel is. It's the longest occupation in modern history. Always remember that. Always remember that. And if you think people should just tolerate being treated like this and being under the rule of someone like that, keep in mind, Israel controls Gaza entirely, controls the beach, controls the water, controls the fishing zones, controls the checkpoints, controls it by land, controls it by air, controls the water, food, electricity, power, you name it. It's a prison. It is a prison. And no one should have to just tolerate that crap. No one. So that is the disgusting interview that I wanted to show you. I mean, Jesus, it's like, I was shocked. I swear for the first couple of seconds, I thought someone had like done a voiceover or, you know, dubbed it or done a parody. I was shocked. I've never seen like the true colors come out, you know? I mean, I have, but it's been a while, shall we say, you know? And the journalists caught me off guard just as much as Bennett did. You know, it's like, holy shit, look at them. Wow. So thank you for the a super chat. We've got one from Oran. Says, Richard, what do you think is Hamas endgame? Salve do Brasil. You'll have to. I can only say obrigado. You'll have to forgive me. My Portuguese is not exactly up to par, but thank you very much. I appreciate it. And when it comes to Hamas endgame, I mean, Hamas want to liberate Palestine. The Israelis try to frame it as they want to kill all Jews, and no, this is complete rubbish. The Hamas couldn't care less if the Israelis were green aliens or Chinese or British or whatever. And actually, as a matter of fact, many of them are British. That's the point. The thing is that they don't want people living on their land, and on top of that, abusing them and killing them. Right? It's like multiple layers of crimes, and it's so simple to understand. But because, you know, no one wants to explain it in academic settings or in the media, then you have a population in the West that is completely ignorant. So in any case, that is the Hamas endgame. It's to liberate Palestine by any means necessary. And once again, whether you like Hamas or you don't like Hamas, the Geneva Convention is very clear. The UN Charter and General Assembly are very clear. If you are under occupation, you can do whatever the hell you need to do to kick the occupier out. It's not my opinion. It's not my, it's not what I necessarily feel, but it's the law. I'm just telling you the facts. Yes, whether the Israelis like them or not. And this is why the Israelis are so furious that the Palestinians, that the International Criminal Court recognized, jurisdiction over Palestine. because before the question was Palestine is not a country, or shall we say it's not a member state in the United Nations. So does the ICC have the power and the ability to include to take jurisdiction up over Palestine? And the conclusion was yes, and the Israelis lost it, because when it comes to ICC cases, you only need the plaintiff or the person making the complaint to be a member. So in this case, if Palestine is a member, it doesn't matter whether Israel is or not. Palestine can go to the ICC and they can make a complaint, and it's against individuals, not countries. And at the time, Netanyahu was losing his, going nuts and saying, well, this is an attack against the Jewish state. No, it's literally not. It's just you. It's only Netanyahu. You. Nobody else. No other country or entity or colony. Just you. Only you. And a couple of his generals. So yeah, it was funny watching him try to present it as anti-Semitic again. The same old propaganda bollocks. Anyway, TC, thank you for the super chat. Armand, thank you for joining, and Cyrus as well. And thank you guys very much for all your kind words. We have some new members on Patreon. Splendid. We have Alice and we have Chastity. Thank you guys very much. We are on our way to hitting the goal. So the more people join, the better. And I can then continue doing my work. So I depend on you guys. If you have $1 or $2, send them to Gaza. And then if you have another $1 or $2, please donate to the show. It would be most appreciated. And also, I play a crab dance whenever somebody joins. So here it is.
Clap for that, you stupid bastard.
Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line, claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Cut that bitch off.
Thank you for Iron Dome.
Thank you.
والله في كلاب بصراحة يعني. ماشي نشتغل عادي.
We lied, we cheated, we stole.
China.
And you ain't black.
There's always the macro.
And then there's the micro.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
You talking to me? Ladies and gentlemen,
I'll have 2 number 9s. A number 9 large.
we got him.
Because I have to do it myself. I know it's not.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
Oh!
Disgusting!
She was 12, I was 30, but anyway.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Why you text in? Why? Oh, you're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay. Okay.
Suck my dick and choke on it. I yield my time. Fuck you.
I love it. Hopefully, a little bit of humor in these dark times. I want to show you some more clips. Whenever there's an Israeli war, the propaganda is so painful to listen to. It's so again, words fail me. I think I'll just go through these clips with you and demonstrate what I'm talking about. So, first of all, some Israeli war crimes like using white phosphorus. How about that?
على الشاشة
نعم علي
القصف
متابعة هذه
متواصل
الصور
على تلة إرمد
المباشرة من تلة إرمد التي تتعرض لقصف إسرائيلي في هذه الأثناء ردا على ما يقوله الجيش الإسرائيلي.
Here's another one. So this is, again, it's an internationally banned weapon. It's a chemical weapon, and it basically, you can think of it sort of similar to napalm. You know, the point of it is to cause insane burns, and if it touches you, you will. I mean, it not only kills but maims in ways similar to napalm and cluster bombs. You know, it's in that category of just horrific weapons, really horrific. They're so bad that most countries have banned them and they just don't use them because they don't even provide a tactical or military advantage. They just make people suffer. That's it. You know, these are burns that are not. You know, you yourself would not be able to put out. Other people would struggle to put out. They can give you, you know, they can cause organ failure. They can cause diseases. You know, white phosphorus, for example, was used by the Americans in Fallujah, right? So in Fallujah, there were several battles after the invasion of Iraq in 2003, and they used depleted uranium because it has better armor-piercing capabilities. Doesn't make sense because this was not a battle against other tanks. There was no armor to penetrate in the first place. They were just firing at buildings. So I don't understand what armor piercing enhancement is supposed to do, but they used them. And, you know, the depleted uranium plus the white phosphorus, they seep into the environment, into the soil, and people living in Fallujah, they got, you know, their children got insane birth defects, and that's to this day. So, you know, we're in 2023. It's been 20 years now since the invasion, and you got kids that are being born there with birth defects, the worst in the world. I mean, they have more congenital heart disease than children in Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Okay, the thing is, at least in Nagasaki and Hiroshima, you know, a nuclear bomb went off and then there's radiation. People in Fallujah, or people in Ukraine now, because we've sent depleted uranium over to Ukraine for them to use. People in the future, you know, they will have diseases or you know, develop serious illnesses, or their children, because they don't know what's in the environment, and because this stuff is indiscriminate. It's you know, it lingers on and causes irreparable damage to the environment and to the inhabitants. So, you know, the fact that the Israelis are using this, they're not stupid. They know exactly what it is. They know exactly it serves no tactical purpose, you know, and this is it's just unsurprising, honestly, that they can get away with using this. No one gives a crap, even with the conventional bombs, let's say, right? Like, I know it's not any better, but even with conventional ordinances, nobody cares. You know, the media just want to talk about made-up stories about Hamas babies and this and that. And when you show, you know, you show them video after photo after video, I've become sick to my stomach looking at these things. So horrible. You know, even this journalist, the Reuters journalist in South Lebanon today, ripped in 2 pieces because of an Israeli shell. No one cares. Even Reuters wouldn't say that Israel killed them. Like, do you see what level of you know, moral bankruptcy we're dealing with? Intellectual bankruptcy, dishonesty. It's too much. It's too much to bear. And you know, this is for us watching on the outside and covering this on the outside. So can you imagine how it is for people that are in Gaza who have to live under this, you know, in what is basically a concentration camp? You know, just because the just because they say, oh, this is Hamas' fault, does not make it so. Hamas is not the one dropping these bombs. This is Israel choosing to do that. You know, period. No one is using human shields at all. The fact that people want to stay in their homes, it's their right to stay in their homes. I really wonder how much people, you know, how much of this people would tolerate in the West. Like, can you imagine being in this situation? Try to imagine that, you know, people who can't understand what's happening, try to imagine it. How much of Israel's bullshit would you tolerate? You know, is Hamas going around and kicking people out of their homes? Is Hezbollah or Syria doing that? It's their homes that have been taken by the Israelis since 1948. These are, you know, European settlers that could go elsewhere. They could go back home to where they came from, you know, and then peacefully emigrate to Palestine, and just live amongst people like Jews and Christians and Muslims have done for thousands of years. There's no problem. But when you try to nationalize it and take it and control it, and make it into an ethno-state, this becomes a problem. And the ethnic cleansing, the massacres that took place in 48, you think people forgot about that? Or in Sabran Shatila, in the refugee camps in Lebanon, and it's so much. It's like it's a never-ending book of horrors. Truly, I really, no words that could aptly describe what's happening. You can't overstate how bad this is. It's so bad. And what the media do is they add insult to injury. You have these ghouls. I can't describe them as anything but ghouls who try to justify what Israel is doing. They always insist that they're the victims and so on. I want to show you something here. I mean, I haven't even watched it myself. I knew that I'd probably lose it. So
I'm a human being. But
oh, sure you do.
You
sound very outraged.
The outrage among Republican presidential candidates was so much more intense. One of them took to a bullhorn and started yelling about it. I get it, but no one would think to do that about the 100,000 American young people murdered every year. And
because who are you yelling at? Who are you yelling at? First of all, people are on bullhorns yelling about drug overdoses and the open border all the time. All the time. What is he even talking about? What he's attempting to is minimize what happened in Israel. He's not attempting to maximize what happened in the United States. He's attempting to minimize, as though America can't walk and chew gum, morally speaking, at the same time, which is absurd. And those
fuck Israel. How about that? Fuck you and fuck Israel. We need to stop entertaining Israeli bullshit. We need to be maybe we need to be a bit more like them. Just screw you. These people like Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson, who he can't kiss Netanyahu's ass enough. It's a ritual for him every day. He just gets up and thinks about it all the time. They are morally bankrupt. They are colonizers. They are thieves. They are killers. There is nothing worse than trying to justify a goddamn American base in the Middle East that has no real purpose. That does not actually need to be there. Like as I was saying before, Jews, Christians, Muslims literally come from this area. Okay, so don't come here and tell me that there's a problem between Palestinians and Jews. This is horse manure. I will not tolerate this. There is no problem. The problem is Europeans coming and stealing other people's land. Period. And I don't understand why people in America should give a shit about Israel. What is the connection between America and Israel? What does somebody in Texas have to do with Israel? What is the connection here? There is no connection. They want you to feel like you should give a crap about Israel. Why? The only thing you should care about is that your money is paying for this white phosphorus to be dropped on residential buildings. You should care about that. Yes. Here, let's look at some proper journalists again. I mean it. Look at this.
You're saying that Israel is a democracy. It's a country that abides by international law. I'm asking you. The cutoff of water, electricity, food, and medicine is considered a war crime. Do you call on Israel to cease its effort now in cutting off medicine,
Let
water,
me start by saying that we are
aid?
in the early days of Israel's response. Israel has a right to conduct an.
What does that mean? We are in the early days. Where you're going to wait and see whether they cutting off the water really bothers Palestinians. Maybe they're not fish. Maybe they don't need the water. Maybe they can live without it. It doesn't matter if you cut it off for 1 hour. It's still a war crime. Is he nuts? And then again, Israel has the right to defend itself. I keep hearing this bullshit slogan so much. I think I'm beginning to understand. When they say Israel has the right to defend itself, they mean to commit war crimes, to commit genocide, to stuff people inside of a ghetto and then bomb them inside of the ghetto and control their food and treat them like vermin. That's what they mean when Israel has the right to defend itself. Wow. So once again, I ask Americans, I ask Westerners, I ask people in Britain, are you okay with our governments defending and financing this kind of behavior? Are you okay with that? Are you really all right with that? Could you last 2 minutes in somebody's shoes in Gaza? How well do you think you would fare if you were in Gaza? Ask yourself this. Ask yourself and be honest. Be honest with yourself. Ask yourself this question.
An aggressive response to respond to the terrorism that's been committed against its citizens. We expect them.
Why do Israelis always have the right to, defend themselves and respond to attacks against their citizens? Palestinians don't have the right? You've been attacking them for 48 years. for 75 years, since 1948. They don't have the right. If anyone has the right on this planet, it's Palestinians. I swear to God. I told you it's the longest occupation in modern history. Ukraine is a fart compared to this. It's not even a blip. Palestinians have had it up to here and then through the roof and then up to there. Okay? Why do they have the right to respond? They're not human beings? What are you implying? Why do Israelis have special status? Is it because they're the chosen people?
To follow international law. We believe that they will, and we will remain in close contact with them about it.
You believe they should not intentionally...
Will remain in close contact. What are you planning, a fucking dinner party? You know that they're violating international law. You know that you could make them stop in a second by cutting off the weapons, but you choose to allow them to do that because you need Israel to act as a sphere of influence in the Middle East.
Target civilians. That's one. Second, do you have any idea on the number of Palestinians killed by Israel in the last 4 days?
I have seen public reports.
What are these?
I am not going to speak to the Saeed, I'm going to speak to what the U.S. government can verify, which I've done with the number of U.S. citizens. I will let Israel speak to the number of Israeli citizens that have killed, as well as the number of Palestinians that have killed.
Yeah, okay. So when when it doesn't suit them, and John Kirby did the same thing. So he's the national security spokesperson, White House. You remember just 2 days ago when I was streaming, like I showed you this video where he was crying, and then as soon as he was asked a question by Al Jazeera, he started saying, "I'm going to let the Israelis comment as to what they target and so on." You know, what do you mean? You're the one giving them the bombs. You literally give them the bombs and the guns and the money. It comes from you. What do you mean you're going to let them talk about it? They didn't ask you what, you know, you didn't talk about this with the Israelis first. You have no clue. You don't watch the bloody news. You don't follow what's going on. If anyone should comment on this, it's the Americans, because they are the ones that need to be held to account. And of course, you know, the UK, but the UK does not bankroll Israel to the tune of, you know, America's yearly stipend. So do you understand my point here? Is that, you know, when it suits them, they're more than happy to say, "Oh, Israelis suffered this, Israelis victims that, Israeli babies this, Israeli women that," you know, even when it's made up and Biden lies and has to walk it back. And then when they're asked a tough question, they say, "Oh, look, I don't know, man. You have to ask the Israelis. I don't know. I just give them the bombs. I don't know."
You're saying that Israel is a democracy. It's a country that abides by international law. I'm asking you,
yeah, so here's a clip from the BBC. I warned you.
What is simple is that whatever actions are taken by a democracy, it has to be done in accordance with international law. And we have heard tonight from the President of the United States that he has been on the phone to Netanyahu, and both of them have agreed that democracies need to act in accordance with international law.
Pause there, if I may. Do you think cutting off food, water and electricity is within international law?
I think that Israel has an absolute right to defend itself against terror.
Here we go with the slogan again. You see how they play this game?
Listen, I asked.
It is an answer to the question that you've asked, and I think it's an appropriate one at this time.
Why won't you answer whether you think it's in line with international law or not?
Because I've tried to answer, and I've tried to say that we've already heard from your previous guest about what might be happening on a day-to-day basis. So we're now on day 4. And so we hear that there are troops massing on the border. There may well be an incursion. Immediately before an incursion, then, as the permanent representative have said, that it might be appropriate in those circumstances.
What is this word salad? What the fuck is she talking about?
For there to be the sort of action that we've heard about, and then the sort of action that we've heard about. What are you talking about? A spanking? They're cutting off their food. Like, they talk about these things like it's just casual, you know. It's like, yeah, you know, we're following up with them, and you know, they might be this sort of, you know, war crime behavior, whatever. Then the invasion afterwards. I don't know, because at the moment we're in the middle of a hot war, and Israel is in the middle of defending itself, and we have to stand.
Once again, Israel defending itself.
With Israel, just like we would expect people to stand with us if we were the victims of terrorism as well.
Yeah, see, the problem is that when we are victims of terrorism, we let the terrorists do this stuff because we know who they are in advance, and then we use that to start wars. And, you know, it's basically exploiting tragedies to whip up fury, stir up emotions, play on people's heartstrings, get them riled up, and then exploit that anger to justify wars. It's propaganda, and these are non-answers. So, I'm surprised that the host even bothered to ask about the Israeli crimes. But that's the thing, because they'll only do it for a bit and then they won't touch it. So out of 24 hours in a news cycle, they'll talk maybe 3 minutes. Like not even. This clip is 1 minute and 21 seconds. So it's like they do this to appear as if they're unbiased, some people are angry at the BBC because they refuse to call Hamas terrorists because of their language guide and a styling guide and so on, and a styling book. And I mean, it is factually wrong to call them terrorists. They are not terrorists. They're guerrilla fighters. So as I said, you can go look at the UN Charter. You might have a copy lying around, or the Geneva Convention, and that's it. That's the definition. They're guerrilla fighters. They have the right to do anything that it takes to get people off of their land. Period. I don't make the laws. I'm just telling you the facts. Okay? Now, calling them terrorists, you are immediately just doing Israeli propaganda. If you actually look at, even with the Israelis, we don't usually say that their behavior is terrorism, even though it is actually designed to terrorize an entire population. There's a big difference between bombing a besieged strip of beach and putting people into a concentration camp, and on the other hand, people trying to take back their own land and fighting a colonial power. These two things have nothing to do with each other. You cannot say, oh, well, the people fighting their oppressors are terrorists, and the oppressor lashing out and crapping all over the entire population, doing collective punishment. This is Israel defending itself. It's like the world is upside down. So it's really nasty listening to mainstream media all day, pumping out this propaganda. And so, this is Thornbury, okay, the woman who is being interviewed. So she's an MP, she's a member of parliament, and they all sound like this. Right? So she's from the Labour Party, and you can imagine that Tories and Labour, so Conservatives and the Labour Party, they're indistinguishable. They're both pro-Zionist. They're rabidly pro-Zionist. They are so pro-Israel. It is violent and disgusting. They chased, I think, a Channel 4 crew. They were chasing Jeremy Corbyn through the streets of London, and they were hounding him, will you condemn Hamas? Will you condemn Hamas? They did this to him before, where they basically persecuted him to the point that he got his image was so destroyed by the British tabloids and the British press, who are garbage, that they got him removed as the leader of the Labour Party. And they only did this because he is actually an anti-racist. He has fought against racism his whole life, whether it was apartheid South Africa or apartheid Israel. And because the media and the political elites are so pro-Israel, they hound you to death, literally killed his career because he wasn't pro-Israel. Right? And so they said, oh, he is a terrorist, oh, pro-Hamas, oh, this and that. Go to hell, man. Go to hell, seriously. Why don't they go and hound Netanyahu through the streets of London and ask him if what he's doing is in accordance with international law? Why don't they do that? Thank you for the super chat. This is from Rizad. Good to see you, Rizad. Says, well put, Richard. Keep up the good work. You are the best. Free Palestine. Well, I appreciate your kind words, and we have Omar, who just joined, and we also have another member, Nori C. So once again, I'll kindly oblige you with a crab dance, and we have some more people who just joined. We have Faisal, we have Neeks, and Toon C. Thank you guys so much. This is beautiful. We've got 2,000 people watching. Guys, I only need a few dozen more to join. I think we're 40 people short, and then we'll hit the goal on Patreon. So you can basically donate $2 a month or £1 a month, whatever you like. You can stop anytime, start anytime, and it's just a way of supporting my work. We have another donation here from Davey. It says, Aussie referendum today for Aboriginals have a voice in the parliament. This resonates with the lack of voice of Palestinians in their own land. Yes. Vote yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. This is, Australia is it's a colony. It's a prison colony, right? A penal colony. It started out where the criminals in England, there was no space in the jails for them, so we just like shipped them to Australia and they made a country. But no, it's not funny because they it's not like it was empty. Of course not. You have the Aboriginals or the First Nations or basically the native people, the people who come from Australia originally, then the real Australians, not the British, and they were like the natives in America or Palestinians in Palestine. They have no political voice. They have no representation in any field, any domain, no say in how the country is run, nothing, just completely maligned, and that's disgusting. That's unacceptable. And this is the thing with the Israelis. They won't even allow the Palestinians to be second-class citizens. It's screw you. Like we are gonna put you in a ghetto, in a concentration camp. Screw you. That is Israel's attitude, and I find this disgusting. Palestinians should even have to ask the Israelis for anything. Who the fuck are they? I can't help but start cussing. I can't help it because these people make you so frustrated, with their behavior. Armine, thank you very much for the donation. And Zolly guy says, where to buy a kufiya like yours, sir? Okay, well I'll give you the link. I'll put it up on the screen. Give me a second. It's hirbawi.ps. So they're made in Palestine. They're great, and you guys should support them. Hold on, I'm trying to type it in the chat for you as well. Can't see the chat for some reason. Ah, there it is. Okay. So I'm showing it. I'm going to put it up on the screen, display it on the screen. Give me a second. There you go. They ship worldwide. And I think if you click on buy now, it should so it depends where you are in the world. If you're in America, they have they ship there everywhere. It's really good. I think if you buy 3 of them, they will ship it with priority or express. So that's very good, and you guys should definitely support them. So I want to show you something here. This is very interesting. So I've put these things together. All right, give me a second. I just want you to understand what Israel is. Okay, that it is a colony, a settler colony that was created on top of Palestine at the expense of Palestinians. And what you're seeing today in Gaza, it did not start yesterday or on October 7th. This has been going on since 1948 and before. Hear it not from me, but from Jews themselves, Israelis themselves, telling you what Israel is in their own words.
Holocaust survivor as an infant. I barely survived. My grandparents were killed in Auschwitz, and most of my extended family was killed. I became a Zionist. This dream of the Jewish people resurrected in their historical homeland, and the barbed wire of Auschwitz being replaced by the boundaries of a Jewish state with a powerful army. And then I found out that it wasn't exactly like that. That in order to make this Jewish dream a reality, we had to visit a nightmare on the local population. And there's no way you could have ever created a Jewish state without oppressing and expelling the local population. Jewish Israeli historians have shown without a doubt that the expulsion of the Palestinians was persistent, it was pervasive, it was cruel, it was murderous, and with deliberate attempt. So that's what's called the Nakba in Arabic, the disaster or the catastrophe. There's a law that you cannot deny the Holocaust. But in Israel, you're not allowed to mention the Nakba, even though it was at the very basis of the foundation of the state. I visited the occupied territories, Russell during the first Intifada. I cried every day for 2 weeks at what I saw. The brutality of the occupation, the petty harassment, the murderousness of it, or cutting down of Palestinian olive groves, the denial of water rights, the humiliations. And this went on, and it's much worse now than it was then. It's the longest ethnic cleansing operation in the 20th and 21st centuries. I could land in Tel Aviv tomorrow and demand citizenship under the law of the right of return. But my Palestinian friend in Vancouver, Hannah Kawas, who was born in Jerusalem, can't even visit. Now, if I have the right to return after 2,000 years, how come Hannah hasn't got the right to return after 70 years? So then you have these miserable people packed into this horrible, people call it the world's largest outdoor prison, which is what it is. You don't have to support Hamas policies to stand up for Palestinian rights.
Do you see how unfair that is, that you can just, you're a Jew from anywhere. You could be Australian, you could be whatever, a German. You could just go and get citizenship and travel wherever you want. You could go and live in Israel or occupy Palestine in a house that belonged to some Palestinian family that's now long gone, or living in a camp, a refugee camp, maybe somewhere nearby, or in Gaza. And they don't even have a member state in the UN, right? They haven't even attained, they haven't even acceded to the United Nations or attained statehood. So Palestinians have zero official, nationalities, or if they want to travel, they have to be given special documents because they don't have the usual passport. My cousin, for example, with his Palestinian document, people at the airport would always be confused because they don't even know what it is. So and that's if you are even able to travel in the first place, because many Palestinians are not. It's much easier for an Israeli to get a visa to go, visit London than it is for a Palestinian. I mean, it's not even comparable. So that is. What do you guys think about that? I mean, don't you think that that's unfair? Don't you think it's ridiculous that someone like Netanyahu, who is Ukrainian, I don't remember, his mother I think is Polish and his father is Ukrainian, I don't remember, but he's Eastern European, right? So as many of the Israeli prime ministers are, actually all of them, they come from Eastern Europe, right? So it's like they're called Ashkenazi Jews, so they're like basically Eastern European or white European Jews, and they're the elite, the political elite that run Israel. So even among Jews in Israel, you will have an hierarchy. So you have the white Ashkenazi Jews, the European Jews on top, and then underneath you will have the Arab Jews, right? So from Morocco, Syria, Iraq, Egypt, and then at the bottom, the black Jews just from next door from Ethiopia, right? So then you have the Palestinians who are not even citizens, and if they are citizens, they are, it's complete apartheid, and that's if you are even a citizen. Most of them are not. Israel will never allow Palestinians to be citizens because then they would be the majority. You know why? Because it's Palestine, because it's their country. So obviously they're a majority. And so they would be, the Palestinians would actually be able to run their own country and run their own affairs. And that it runs contrary to what the Israelis want, which is to control Palestine. I want to show you some other videos from Jews who are talking about what Israel is. This is from Gideon Levy, who's an Israeli journalist, and he was talking to the BBC just a few days ago. Listen to what he said.
Gaza is a cage, is the biggest prison in the world. Nobody spoke about lifting the siege. And people who live now 17 years in a cage want to resist. And if they have the possibility, they do it. And I'm surprised that they had the possibility, because the barrier around Gaza, billions of dollars were spent there to build this unbelievable barrier under the surface and above the surface with all kinds of electronic devices. And finally, you see that the spirit of resistance is many times stronger than anything else. and they broke it and penetrated into Israel, which is now shocked. Gaza.
What more can I say? I mean, Gabor Mate and Gideon Levy, they word it so eloquently and so concisely and perfectly. There really isn't that much to add. And you know, it's you're hearing it straight from them. Okay? They're Jews, they're Zionists or former Zionists, and they are speaking from experience. And they came so after time, right? In time, they came to understand what Israel is, and that, you know, it's not just apartheid; it's something else. It's beyond that. It's much worse. Even actually, people who lived in South Africa under apartheid, who know what's happening in Palestine, have said that it's worse than what they experienced in South Africa, which was, I mean, you have to imagine how bad it was in South Africa already. So that's really saying something, you know. This is from here. These are, I think this was in New York, this rally. I don't remember, but it's from again, Jews talking about Israel. Listen to what they had to say.
Judaism is not nationalism. Judaism is a religious. How more religious you are, and most close to God you are, as most Jew you are. How can this Zionism, which they hate God, they hate every holy thing, they hate all the Torah, all the founders was denying the Torah, denying God. How can they talk in our names?
Yeah, you need to understand something. These are Jews who actually follow the Old Testament, what we all know as the Bible, you know, the Torah. People like Netanyahu, Zionists, don't follow the Torah. They distort it, and they follow the Talmud. There's a great book written by an Israeli journalist about the Mossad, so that's the Israeli intelligence service, assassinating people. And he talks about how they were even assassinating Jews in Palestine back when there was no Israel, but they were trying to form one. And so you had some Jews who were campaigning or working against it. They just killed them, right? And he named the book after a verse or line rather that's in the Talmud, which says, you know, rise and kill first. So, you know, like if you think someone is a danger to you, not like, oh, there's a critical danger, but you just, you know, you're not sure. It just doesn't matter. Rise and kill first. Get up and kill him first. That's the mentality. That's Israel. Whereas the Torah, the Old Testament, the actual original Bible says, thou shalt not kill. Do you see the difference? So this is, and this speaker here just also pointed out that distinction, right? That they don't follow the Torah, the Zionists. So people in America who are, you know, Christian Zionists who think that, you know, that Israel is like a firm believer in the Old Testament and that this connects them to Christianity. No, absolutely not. No. That is absolutely, Zionism is not based on the Old Testament or the Torah. It is a distortion of it. You need to understand this. And actually, I showed you the other day how Christians are treated in, in Jerusalem by Israelis. You know, some of them just spit on them. One of the abbots, this German abbot, was told to put his cross away. You know, there is discrimination against Christians just as much as there is against Muslims. And you know, you shouldn't think of it as a religious thing. It's not a religious issue. It's a colonial issue. If it's about Jews, you have Palestinian Jews, you have Palestinian Christians, you have Palestinian Muslims. Why don't they fight amongst each other if it's about a religion? Because it's not. It's never been about that, ever. This is bullshit propaganda that they use to stir up the emotions of Europeans, because Europeans committed genocide against Jews with the Holocaust, or you know, what happened in all this history of anti-Semitism in Spain, and actually in the Reconquista in Spain, when they expelled the Muslims, the Arabs, the Jews took refuge with the Arabs, with the Muslims specifically. So, you know, if there's a problem between Muslims and Jews, why did Jews seek refuge amongst the Muslims then, right? Like, you need to know history to understand what's going on, and to see that the Israelis, the Zionists, are bullshitters. They're lying about history. They're lying about the present. And if you don't understand history, you cannot understand what's taking place today in Gaza and in Palestine. I want to show you. This is Rabbi Beck and what he has to say.
Very terrible what's happened. This is only one.
So he's a rabbi in London, yeah?
Terrible what's happened. This is only one ring in the long chain of the whole killings what's happened the whole time since the creation of the state of Israel. This is not a religious conflict. This is only a problem of occupation. And this should be rectified. The land should go back for the Palestinians from the river to the sea. We as Jews, we are especially ashamed that all the killings, all the robbery, all the killings of the innocent women, children, everything happens in our name. We feel for especially our duty to come out, to show the Jewish opposition.
Yeah, you know, it's crazy because in France, I'm going to show you what they did in France right now. It's how they treated the Jewish protesters who were out, who came out for Palestine. I'll just show you some more clips. Here you have the Iranian president, Raisi, meeting with rabbis from the Jewish community who are anti-Zionist. Once again, right? Take a look. Iran actually has one of the largest Jewish communities in the Middle East, if not the largest.
I have heard that there are anti-Zionist Jews here, and this is a great thing. And in this morning's gathering with religious representatives,
you know, the reason that you don't have Jews anymore in Syria and Iraq, which is, I mean, it's not only a shame, it's disgusting what Israel did. Israel bombed a synagogue, so a Jewish temple in Iraq, on purpose to scare Iraqi Jews into leaving Iraq and going to Israel so they could populate Israel with Jews from all over the place, and not only increase their numbers but make it look like, you know, it's the Jewish state, quote unquote, and therefore legitimize the occupation somehow. Don't you find that disgusting that they were literally bombing a synagogue, like their own people? They claim to be the Jewish state and they go attack their own people to trick them into I find that disgusting. And then they did the same thing with, you know, trying to smuggle or force through, you know, diplomatic back channels, like force basically the Syrian government to allow Jews from Damascus who didn't even want to go to come to Israel because Israel wanted them. Israel insisted on having them, even though they did not want to go. You know, so Israel has been working a lot, and with Egypt as well. Egypt, you know, Israel was working with, exploiting is the correct word. I did many videos on this with how Israel basically, not only in Iraq but in Egypt, caused Jews to be maligned because of its foreign policies. Like basically the Mossad were going into Egypt and exploiting the Jewish community to do their dirty work for them, unbeknownst to them. And then of course this caused the backlash against Jews, and then Israel got to bring them all to out of Egypt and into Israel. So, you know, I find that really, I don't know how to, you know, it's disgusting. It's really, it's maligned and it's disgusting, and it's so desperate, you know. It just reeks of desperation. Like they're trying so badly to make it look like it's the Jewish state and all this stuff, and they have to literally scare other Jews into coming there. I mean, so another very very famous a linguist and philosopher who's Jewish that you guys all know is Noam Chomsky, and I interviewed him on the channel, and this is one of his quotes. He said that, quote, "You take my water, you burn my olive trees, destroy my house, take my job, steal my land, imprison my father, kill my mother, bombard my country, starve us all, humiliate us, but I am to blame. I shot a rocket back." That's so you know, he's very much a critic of Israel and a supporter of a free, you know, of Palestinians. and Palestinian national liberation, and he just, summarized it very eloquently how the Palestinians, as soon as they resist, they take up arms, or even just marching, right? Because in 2018, 2019, no one had guns. They were just standing at the fence. They wanted to go back and take their homes, and they shot and killed so many Palestinians, right? That's what Israel did. So you can't win, like whether you are speaking out or just marching, or you have guns, you're always going to be a terrorist, and you're always going to be the one to blame, and Israel is always innocent. Here's I want to show you Miko Peled. He's really cool, and I interviewed him as well. So he has an interesting story. He was so his grandfather is one of the people who founded Israel, and his father was a general in the '67 war, an Israeli general, and he himself was in the special forces, the Israeli special forces, and then he became disillusioned with Israel when he understood what's going on, and now he's completely against Zionism, and he doesn't live in Israel anymore, and he's he's a very, very outspoken anti-Zionist, and here he is. We did an interview with him a few days ago.
Response from the state of Israel, and of course the state of Israel was in total panic and basically collapsed. There was no information, there was no security. Settlement after settlement after settlement in the area around the Gaza Strip had fallen to Palestinian hands, and so it was quite incredible to see that. But at the back of my mind, I knew that, as is always the case, Israel will regain its senses somehow. They will recapture they'll find a way to fight back, and then eventually Palestinians are going to pay an enormously heavy price, because now they humiliated this gangster. And when a gangster is humiliated, they leash out this horrible violence, and that's exactly what is happening now. What we're seeing now is the humiliated Israel leashing out just this senseless violence, just to show that they are, to prove themselves that they are capable of violence, just to punish the people that humiliated them. Although at the same time, as they're bombing Gaza, the fighters are still, they're still going in and out of the fence, and there's still gunfire and battles going on between Palestinian fighters and Israeli forces in some of these settlements. That as I'm sure you know, an entire Israeli military base, the Gaza Brigade, which is the central military base that is supposed to be defending the settlements on the outskirts on the border with Gaza, was empty, was gone. I mean, it was taken very easily by the Palestinian fighters, including apparently the general who in command, who was taken a prisoner.
That's a very important point that he raises, because some of you might have been wondering, how come the number of Israelis killed keeps rising every day, right? Because the Israelis made it sound like, Hamas came in and they just shot up a festival and that's it. No, that's not what happened. And Hamas are still in the settlements right now, fighting against the Israelis. The only mistake that Hamas made is that, well, they didn't wear Ukraine flags, then no one would call them terrorists. No, but what Hamas should have done is called upon the Palestinians in Gaza to come with them and take back the houses and the land. It's always been theirs. It's been theirs. The people living in Israel or occupied Palestine, they don't come from there, man. They don't come from there. So they should have called upon the Palestinians to all come, because now what's happening is Israel is pushing Palestinians south. We're not talking about an army. We're talking about civilians. We're talking about the people that have been colonized just taking back their homes. Who on earth could call this, terrorism and pretend the Israelis are victims? No one, man. No one. They're just fronting. They're just lying. They're just trying to, justify what the Israelis are doing, this collective punishment. I want to show you a video here. This is from Ilan Pape, he's very, very famous writer, Israeli, and here's what he has to say about Zionism.
Nakba is an operation of ethnic cleansing, which was a systematic expulsion of the Palestinians in order to de-Arabize Palestine and create on its ruins a Jewish state.
In 1948.
In 1948, but
okay, thank you.
No, it's important to say, the Nakba continues because only 50% of the people were expelled and only 80% of the land was taken. The Nakba continues every day in Gaza, in Nablus, in the Galilee, in the Nakab, and we should have a discussion about the destruction of Palestine and not about the nonsense that we're hearing here tonight.
Obviously, this is...
It's so funny because
Palestine.
It's so funny because you can see to the right of him is Mehdi Hassan, who is today constantly saying, oh, the poor Israelis, oh, this and that about Hamas. You know, he's trying to like make it seem like it's both sides who are violent. And no, I'm sorry, man, you need to get your head checked. He used to be good, and I've watched this panel before, and I know you know, his positions and what he's arguing and so on. And now he's become, because he works at MSNBC, he literally cannot afford to say the truth, because he would lose his job and be sacked. So, you know, he has to acclimate and pretend like, you know, he's still defending Palestinians, but also the poor Israelis. Oh, he has to do that. He's trying to keep his job and save his job. It's a shame. It's a shame watching someone sell out. In any case, you heard, I just showed you several prominent Israelis, Jews, who, you know, are from various parts of the world, and they all say the same thing about Zionism, that it distorts Judaism. It's a hijacking of the religion. And actually, what I find ironic is that the Israelis are saying Hamas is ISIS. You know, speaking of ISIS, the Israelis, what they do with Judaism is like ISIS. They hijack the religion, and then they try to claim that they are the only ones who are pure enough to you know, represent the religion, and then they claim the same land in the name of that religion. You know, it's just no difference. It's like Crusaders, ISIS, Zionism. It's the same thing, just but, you know, with Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, respectively. That's it. That's it. And they're distortions of those religions. They just hijack them to use them as political covers, because it's much easier to, you know, get away with this kind of stuff, these brutal acts of murder and thievery and you know, executions and torture, when you claim that you're like on God's mission or something. And they've all done it. It's just with, you know, different periods of time, and they're all distortions at the end of the day. You know what Israel is doing, there is not a single religion on earth that tells you to do these things. Like I don't know where it says in the Bible you should F-16, you know, grab an F-16 and drop bombs on people in Gaza. This is the Zionists, the Israelis. They're more focused on the Talmud, which is not the Bible, which is not the Old Testament, and is not the Torah. Okay, you need to understand that, and you heard it straight from the various Israeli and Jewish speakers that I just showed you, that this is the case, and Israel does not represent Jewish people. It's an American base, and at the convenience of Jewish European settlers who've, you know, come to an arrangement with the West. So yeah. Just a quick video, which I found, I mean, I don't even know what to say here. Yo, man. I mean, just look at this drama. So this is a student at the University of Washington who is apparently Jewish, and she is breaking down and crying because Palestinians were allowed to have a march, you know, for the people of Gaza. Oh, the horror. Oh, the horror. Just look at this drama.
Allowed! They want our people dead! They want us killed!
And so part of it, they want our people dead, they want us killed. No, they just want their homes back. You, on the other hand, the Israelis, you certainly want Palestinians dead. We can see that by the 1,800 that have been killed in the last days, most of them women and children.
is it about? Why are you allowing this? Why are you putting us so? They want us dead. Please end it, please.
Jesus, I mean, if you're crying, what are Palestinians supposed to say? Look at how privileged they are. They have no clue what it's like to be in Gaza. They have no clue. They haven't the foggiest. You know, turning on the waterworks, bringing out the crocodile tears. They'll try. Israelis will try anything to get away with murder. Literally murder. You know, and equating Palestinian national liberation with Nazis. Go to hell. If you want to go and blame Germans and the French for the Holocaust, you should. And I will come and do it with you. But don't hang that shit over the heads of Arabs acting like they are just like Europeans and their anti-Semitism. Go away with this crap. I will not tolerate this. Speaking of France, so again, we the famous French Age of Enlightenment, yeah, the famous French values of democracy. So let's look at these so-called European democracies with their so-called free speech and how they treat people who, you know, dared to go out and march for the Palestinians in Gaza. So first of all, the French completely banned, you know, any rallies for Palestinians. Again, not Hamas, for Palestinians. You're not allowed to come out and protest what Israel is doing to the Palestinians. You have to shut up. And they even use tear gas to crack down on the protesters. God, I hate that term. They always use it for propaganda. It's the Syrian regime cracked down. But this is actually real. They were using tear gas. And I want to show you how disgusting this is. They even went and beat up Jews in France who had come out to protest alongside the Palestinians. Look at this. Look at how unhinged the police are. They you know, they are the ones who are actually anti-Semitic because they are okay with Israel killing Arabs, and then they come and beat up Jews who are also against Zionism.
Du sein also, du hast also schon. Du sein also. Ja, ja. Da lebt noch alle. Zwei Hand. Okay, come
The Zionism are very violent everywhere in the whole world, and here in France, the young man here got hit violently, and even the police were shocked. They didn't react. They didn't know what to do. But for us, it's not a surprise. We are not so shocked. They are liable to do this. They do not care for Jewish people. They only care for one thing: Zionism. They can kill everyone. They do not mind to kill many Jewish people. They can kill. If Zionism has to win, Zionism is the biggest enemy of the Jewish people. This is Amalek, and they fight against HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and this is that's why they're bringing bloodshed to the Jewish people. The only place in the world where Jewish people are being killed is in Palestine, because they are fighting the Goyim and fighting HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When you fight HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there's no peace. HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes sure the Goyim no peace with you, and they have no.
Yeah, and so look at this in Germany. The Germans have banned any rallies and tried to replicate what France did. And people actually, the French police were not able to stop people coming out in Paris. Just look at this. They're saying nous sommes tous des Palestiniens. So this is on the Champs-Élysées, and they're saying we're all Palestinians. Yeah, so they then came with the tear gas and so on, and they do the usual thing with sending the CRS, the riot police in France. And you have here, I'm going to show you some of these photos. This is from Iraq. This is from today, from a few hours ago. So they have massive rallies, because remember it's Friday, right? So it's the day off for Muslims and in Arab countries, so it's easier for people to come out, and you'll usually have protests that are organized on Fridays. So just huge. Remember, Iraq has the Hashd al-Sha'bi, the Popular Mobilization Forces. So that's considered part of the resistance axis, and therefore aligned with Hezbollah, Hamas, Iran, Syria. It's kind of cool because these groups don't share the same, beliefs, political beliefs, religious beliefs, or domestic or foreign policies. They just share one goal, though, which is national liberation and getting rid of colonizers, be it the Americans or the British or the Israelis. So that is cool to see them working together, because you need to have a strong alliance, and through unity. By having the Arabs unite, they become stronger. And it's not just the Arabs. Again, you have Venezuela, which is considered part of the resistance axis, or Iran. So people came out all over the place. Here, I'll show you. This is in Aleppo in Syria. And then you had people here in hold on, I wanted to show you the one in Yemen. Where did I put that one? Yeah, okay. The one in Jordan. Yeah, so well, you saw the translation. This is also in Syria, and they also had protests in so these pro-Palestine marches in Jordan that I was telling you about, where they were trying to go to the fence or the border with Israel, and the security forces were harassing. So the security forces in Jordan were harassing Jordanians, right? Like, instead of just opening the border and letting them go and march and take back Palestine, they keep them in check. It's ridiculous. Yeah, so people just like I said, they were doing marches all over the place, really all over the Arabic world, and also outside the Arabic world. So in Iran, they had huge rallies almost every single day, But today's rallies were the biggest. And I just want to show you like the irony, because you're not allowed to open your mouth about Israel in the West, but yet it's freedom of expression. And if you don't support Israel, you're an anti-Semite. If you don't support Ukraine, you're a Russian asset or Putin puppet or something. They always have like these stupid catchphrases to just shut you up and label you and put you in a corner if you don't comply with their propaganda. Here, I want to show you. This is also on the border, so between Jordan and occupied Palestine. So they're using tear gas on them. Yeah, it's very reminiscent of the 2018-2019 marches. And I want to show you just quickly what various countries did, right? So I showed you that they did a ban on demonstrations. Okay, in France. In Germany, they banned the Berlin rally. And also, by the way, Germany banned last year the Quds Day rally, which is an annual, it's called Jerusalem Day, not the Israeli one, but a Palestinian one. And it's done every year. They banned that completely, saying it's pro-Hamas. So, you know, they're using this line about Hamas being terrorists so they can justify taking away people's civil liberties, their right to protest, their right to criticize Israel. That's what it's about. It's like after 9/11, you know, in the name of combating terrorism, we have to take this away from you. We have to spy on you. We have to do this and that. And then, you know, it's any notion of democracy or you know, all the bullshit that they tell you about Israel being a democracy and human rights, and we have in common, they share the same European values. What values? They're eroded and long gone. They're long gone. So Netherlands, they said that pro-Hamas demonstrations would be intervened in by mayors because of concerns regarding anti-Semitic expressions. Once again, you need to understand something. Arabs are Semites. The real anti-Semites, the real anti-Semites are the Israelis. Why? Because the Israelis are not from Palestine. They're colonial settlers, and they have built Israel at the expense of Palestinians, at the expense of Semites. They're bombing Syria, they're bombing Palestine, bombing Lebanon. They've invaded each one of them, you know, and colonized them and stolen land and killed their people. They are the anti-Semites. The Israelis are the anti-Semites, like actually, literally anti-Semites. So they want to keep throwing this word around. Let's look at what the bloody word means. And the definition of a Semite is someone who is from the Levant, who's Semitic people that speak a Semitic language. Arabic is one of them, right? So Arabs are Semites. So how the hell can Arabs be anti-Semites? This literally does not even make sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. And they want to use this word. So do you see how the Israelis, the Zionists, take the land? They then take the food even, and take the ethnicity. So they say, hummus is now Israeli. This land is now Israeli. Semites themselves are now Israeli. You know, it's just complete appropriation and theft of the entire identity. It's insane that they get away with this. Really, really insane. So this is why it's important to dissect all of the Israeli propaganda, to teach people history, to teach people the meaning of the words that are used, and even the word terrorism. Who are they calling terrorists? Who actually fits the definition of this word? It's not Hamas. Hamas is a guerrilla fighter group. Israel is the one that, as a matter of policy, with the Dahiyya doctrine, terrorizes the Palestinians, is committing genocide against the Palestinians, ethnically cleansing the Palestinians. How the hell can they call anyone terrorists? They are the last people on earth to call anyone terrorists and anti-Semites. I mean, the irony here is blistering. It is blinding. Yeah, I just want to say that there's a Reuters journalist, Issam Abdullah, that was just killed in South Lebanon by Israel. Okay, and they fired a shell at a group of journalists, just like they killed Shireen Abu Akleh, and Reuters don't even mention who killed him, because they're too afraid of upsetting Israel. This guy literally gave his life. He died. He was killed doing his job, and they won't even do him the basic courtesy of reporting the truth. Just saying who killed him, how did he die? No, nothing. Is this the kind of media that you want? Do you want to live in a world where our media behave like this? Are these the European values that we keep hearing about? How can anyone sit there and pretend Israel is a democracy when they constantly target journalists? They literally split this guy in two pieces today, and no one will acknowledge it. No one criticizes it. That's what democracies do. They kill journalists. The Israelis have even killed UN peacekeepers. How many times have they done this? I've lost count. Targeting medics. Too many to count. And do you know what that's called when you force 1.1 million people to leave their homes? That's ethnic cleansing. Israel has been ethnically cleansing Palestine since the day it was formed, okay? Since 1948 and even before that. This slogan of a home without a people is complete nonsense. There are people, there always have been people. There have always been Palestinians, Jews, Christians, Muslims living in harmony, living in peace. And Israel takes these people, 2 million of them, and shoves them in a ghetto called Gaza, in a concentration camp, literally a concentration camp. You can't leave by sea, you can't leave by air, you can't leave by land. They tell you when to eat, they tell you if you can eat, if you can have water. They cut your water, no electricity, they bomb you, they tell you to leave your home. If you leave it, you die. If you don't leave it, you still die. What is this behavior? And they have the nerve to point fingers and call other people terrorists. Israel is the terrorist. Israel is the one killing Semites, killing Arabs. These are Europeans that are coming over to Palestine, colonizing it, murdering the local population, and then pretending that Israel is the victim. How dare they? How dare they? How dare the media turn a blind eye to this bullshit? No, I'm not buying it. Israel has never been a victim. Israel is an oppressor. And this whole story about killing babies was a lie. Even Biden had to walk it back. And you know what's funny? The Israelis cannot find one photograph to show you regarding what they're claiming. This is really ironic. You can't find a single photograph of a beheaded Israeli baby. Whereas there are so many photos of Palestinian kids killed by Israel, I cannot even count them all. It's overwhelming. That's what the West is supporting. America supports Israel so it can have and maintain a sphere of influence in the Middle East. This has nothing to do with babies or women or whatever. This is bullshit propaganda that they are making up and walking back silently after they've already spread it and put it in your brain. And they're using it to mess with your heads and play with your emotions. And they did the same thing before in Iraq, before Libya, and before many others. The media are disgusting liars. Right now, there are 1,800 Palestinians that have been killed. More Palestinians killed than Israelis. The majority of those 1,800 are women and children. If you care so much about women and children, why aren't you upset about them? Huh? Why don't you, Piers Morgan and Ben Shapiro, Shit Shapiro, and John Kirby sobbing on CNN, why don't you dare say a word about Israel? Or do only Israeli babies matter, the ones that don't exist? Israel is not a democracy, has never been a democracy. Even Israeli NGOs themselves are saying Israel is apartheid. Israel kills journalists. Israel has killed a dozen journalists in this week alone, on top of many others in previous Israeli assaults. Israel does not respect international law. There is not a goddamn rule. There isn't a single rule in the Geneva Convention Israel hasn't broken. Collective punishment, deprivation of water, of food, of sleep, forced transfer of populations, killing civilians, land theft. Jesus Christ, I'm going to be here all night counting this. And then European Hillary walks around saying, we are friends of Israel. No, the bloody hell we're not. We are not friends of Israel. We do not stand with Israel. We stand against Israel. We stand up to Israel. Because that's what you do with bullies. You stand up to them. And these shitbags defending Israel, trying to justify its slaughter of Palestinians, are going to go down in history as goddamn lunatics and scumbags. Look at it. Look at this shit. Look at this goddamn shit. Look at this garbage.
Clarity and moral clarity and strength, who came to support the state of Israel in this dark hour that we are faced with, as our enemies has butchered and tortured and abducted and kidnapped so many.
Sorry, my voice became a bit coarse because thank you, the Iranian Putin. I like your name very much, and the emojis are funny. Thank you on Rockfin. We have something from Ricardo. It says, thanks for communicating the truth. Stay strong. Thank you, Ricardo. And we have, I think, another one here from, give me a second to find it. There we go. So this is from Nicole. Nicole says, I live right near the University of Washington. So that's the girl I just showed, right? Yeah, okay, so she's in that university. So Nicole says, I live right near the University of Washington. The students there can't even tolerate me smoking pot on the sidewalk, and many of them are super privileged, living in expensive new high-rise apartments, driving expensive cars. I mean, I'm not too familiar with these social circles of the University of Washington, but you know, I think this is the girls that were crying and saying, oh, they want to kill us, the Palestinians want to kill us. Just you know, like, this drama is something that you'll see in a lot of places, right? And they still say it, like, on the news every day, even though they don't say it crying. They still say this myth, they repeat this myth, like, oh, Hamas is committed to the destruction of Israel. Motherfucker, you destroyed Palestine. You are the one who is committed to their destruction. You are the one with the upper hand. I mean, this is so mind-boggling. Like, there's not a goddamn thing Israel says that is not projection. I can't think of one thing. Can you name one thing, guys? I mean, this is a serious question. Can you name you know, an accusation that Israel makes about Hamas that isn't projection, that isn't something Israel does itself? I cannot think of a single one. Thank you, HJ, for joining as a supporter. I appreciate that very much. And I think we also had some things here. We have quite a bit of people who've joined on Patreon, so thank you guys for that. And I'll play you a crab dance momentarily. So and then we'll continue.
Clap for that, you stupid bastard. Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line, claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Cut that bitch off.
Thank you for Iron Dome.
Thank you.
والله في كلاب بصراحة يعني. ماشي نشتغل عادي.
We lied, we cheated, we stole.
China.
And you ain't black.
There's always the macro.
And then there's the micro.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
You talking to me?
Ladies and gentlemen,
I'll have 2 number 9s, a number 9 large.
we got him.
Because I have to do it myself. I know it's not.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
Oh!
Disgusting!
She was 12, I was 30, but anyway.
We'll do it live! Fuck it! Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Why attack Sanders?
Wait, you're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay. Okay.
Suck my dick and choke on it! I yield my time! Fuck you!
You know, I okay, I'm a bit assuaged by the crab dance, but you know, where are the Arab leaders? Where are the kings, right, in the Gulf, in the Persian Gulf, Saudi Arabia, right, Qatar, all of these Arab countries in the Persian Gulf? Where are they? Where are they? You know, this is also something that needs to be asked. Where are the Arab leaders? The King of Jordan, Morocco, or as I said, the countries in the Gulf. Where are the Arab leaders? The Muslim leaders? Shouldn't they also play a part? Saudi Arabia, in 1 minute, could destroy Israel by doing another oil shock and you know, just cutting oil production to zero. America and Israel would be paralyzed. That's how you do politics. That's how you defend the Palestinians. You don't go normalizing ties with Israel and then, you know, put it on pause and then freeze it a little bit and then resume it and freeze it. No normalization, nothing. Where are they? It's not only the fault of the Europeans. It's the kingdoms that they have created and they control, like Saudi Arabia and so on. They also bear responsibility. One of you said that Israel is a geostrategic placement for the U.S. Yes, precisely. In any case, guys, thank you very much for all your support. And again, I kindly ask you to please support my work if you find it informative, if you gained knowledge, if you learned something new, if you understood the bullshit propaganda that was spewed in the media, or if I don't know what was entertaining about any of this, because it's quite sad. But if you enjoyed it in any way, then please consider donating on Patreon. I don't know, you can do pounds or dollars or whatever currency you want. But I'm actually only accepting gold bars and rubles from now on. I'm kidding. But yeah, so we actually just have, I think Natalie Williams has just joined on Patreon. Thank you very much, Natalie. I appreciate that. And guys, we're about 20 members away from hitting the goal. So we've got 2,000 people watching. I just need 30 of you to please join on Patreon, and I'll put up the site here in the chat. It's very simple, and it only takes a few minutes. Again, some people like to do deluxe content, like you basically, if you subscribe on Patreon, then you unlock some additional stuff. I don't do any of this. Look, I'm very straightforward. I do my job, I do my work, I report so that everybody anywhere can access it. And if you are able to support, then thank you very much, because it goes a long way, and I depend on you guys to be able to continue doing my work. So thank you for that. Whether you sent a super chat or you sent a donation on PayPal, or even just liking and sharing the videos, this helps a lot. Okay, so it's patreon.com/RichardMedhurst, and I'm putting the thing up on the screen. There you go.